Happy Martin Luther King Day, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We're gonna have like a double today to make up for a couple days we missed last week. Today, we're asking, begging the question: is a Black American experience unique? Very deep question. So we're gonna go into a little psychology, a little conditioning, a little nature versus nurture. What is the Black American? Who are we? Ooh, that's deep. It gives me chills just thinking about it because I'm so proud of us. Um, there are very few diasporic members that have actually stood up and fought the system of white supremacy with their chest out. I would say Black Americans are the most consistent fighters. In fact, our dear scholar Wani Spots taught us that black, the word black was created or used and embraced in diametric opposition to the word white. That's something to be proud of. The only other groups I can think that actually uh, melanated groups that stuck it to the system of white supremacy was Haiti. We're going to talk a little bit about Haiti because Haiti had a really had a got the blueprint, and if y'all didn't notice it, unintentionally, we're kind of following that blueprint. But what with Haiti, the reason why I'm bringing Haiti up is with Haiti comes a great warning of our mulatto um, turncoat coat class. So my intention today is for us to learn from mistakes because from my view it looks like our liberation is on the way, and history, like Mark Twain said, history doesn't repeat itself but it rhymes, and I'm just afraid of a couple of rhymes, you know what I'm saying. Secondly, we're going to beg the question, what is the African identity, you know what I'm saying. The system plus our cousins from across the pond want to make us African. You're African, you're African. Well, let's just talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. Africa is not a country, it's a continent. So, what do you mean by I'm African? What does that mean? Is there an identity? What does an African look like? What does an African sound like? What does an African smell like? I withdraw that statement. Uh, what's their culture? You know what I'm saying? Black Americans smell like Creed cologne. You know what I'm saying? We smell like cologne. What's their culture? What is this? You know? So let's go ahead and let's jump on into it. Please share out the space, if you don't mind. Before I get started, I wanted to let y'all know that our dear sister Wani Spots has a book that you can purchase. I'm gonna put her information in the jumbotron. Feel free to support our sister Wani. She's one of our scholars. And last but not least, I have a book, a history workbook for the African, from the Black. I had to use the term African American because the college wouldn't approve it and publish it otherwise. But I slipped FBA in there. I wrote a history workbook. This is not just a book; it's a workbook for the foundational Black American family that has exercises you can do with your kids and your nieces and nephews to really drive home the effects that the system has had on us psychologically. If you're interested in my literature, you can purchase it by going to our story public. Go to my Cash App and our story. Well, I put it in the jumbotron. Add $25. That includes shipping and handling, and I'll send it out to you. I'm sending another batch of books on Friday. Well, anyway, let's get into the material. This is deep. Is a Black American experience unique? Yes. There's so much to unpack here. Where do I begin? Wani, where do I need to begin?
Well, there was a joke that said Black Americans are just a boat stop away, which at the time when I heard that joke, I said, oh, yeah, sure, why not? But that's not true because we're centuries separated. And just because you stop in the Caribbean, say you were coming from the west coast of Africa and they would stop in the Caribbean to um, season people to get supplies. Seasoning is to break people. Just because you stopped in the Caribbean and then went further on to North America does not mean you're from the Caribbean. That would mean that every time you stopped somewhere, you were from there. So if you went on a vacation in the Caribbean and stayed for a week, you're from the Caribbean. No, you're not. So, for people that are addressing their African ancestry and um, the migration to North America, you're not from the Caribbean just because some ships stopped in the Caribbean. So, what the Caribbean people experienced is completely different from what we experienced. And they don't have the same terror of being chased around, flyers going up looking for them. They're on an island. Most of them had absentee ownership. Um, some people didn't even know they were enslaved. They were just working. There were some overseers, but they didn't have that day to day, face to face attack. They even had some sort of class systems and abilities to marry people of different backgrounds. They had something where they could complain about the slave owner or the overseer and say, I don't like my conditions and go to the Catholic Church. There were so many things that these people were doing down there. And that's why they came out of it singing about banana boats and singing about one love. Let's get together and feel all right, because they felt that they could do that. There's no, who are they fighting down there? They're not fighting anybody. They have these Chinese last names, some of them, married Chinese people, married Indian people. They have a different DNA profile. So no, they're not the same as us. We don't have those interactions with Indians and Chinese people and Arabs, and um, we don't have the same relationship with white people that they do. They don't have as many negative interactions with white people. They don't have these horrific um, Holocaust genocidal episodes. They just don't have it. And they want to tell us that we're overreacting when they come up here and try to minimize what we went through. And that's based on the fact that people keep saying it's the same experience. And this is one of the issues we're dealing with them. Hello.
Oh, I'm talking to myself. I hit the mute button. I'm sorry. I said it's not the same experience. Thank you for saying hello because I would have kept talking. But it's not the same experience. Dr. John Henry Clark identified that in Jamaica they were allowed the illusion of inclusion, wherein a black person, African person, served as the principal of the school. You had black barristers, that's an attorney in English common law. Um, you had black judges. You had black overseers. Furthermore, now Haiti is an exception, but in Jamaica they had basically, and in the Bahamas, they had they basically were by proxy controlled by members of the royalist class, the dukes, the barons, and people who were a bit more uppity. So they had that lineage, that tie to the British nobility. Well, let's look at this. What does that do? As a child, you see everybody's black. You see the lawyer's black. You see the teacher's black. You see the principal's black. You see the fucking bus driver is black. What does that do? That makes you think that you can do whatever you want. In graduate school, I learned the most important part about student achievement, one of the most important things, is something called self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is you believing that you can do something. I can do that because I see somebody like me doing it, which is why the fucking school books in America don't have people like you doing science. You flip a page you don't see Dr. Charles Drew. You see Albert Einstein with all that wild hair looking kooky. It's intentional, ladies and gentlemen. Back to my original point. Jamaica, and the Bahamas were allowed in the illusion of inclusion because of their close proximity to the royalist class of England, and in some cases, the royalist class of uh, Sweden and parts in South America, and so on and so forth. What happened to us? Were we allowed the illusion of inclusion? No. Why weren't we allowed the illusion of inclusion? Because we weren't allowed the illusion of inclusion because of the Georgia Corporation, the infiltration of immigrants from England. Basically, the Captain James Oglethorpe of England flushed the toilets on America and Australia. He sent insane people, not my words, words of academic canon. The academic canon refers to these people as debtors, pedophiles, degenerates. What am I saying? I'm saying in order to keep the blacks and Native Americans in control, in check, England sent their criminals. They made a deal with criminals and psychopaths. And the deal was, if you come over to the New World and you help us keep these black and Native Americans in check, I will give you a clean slate and allow you to own land. So, given the fact that this low class, insane group of people were put over us, we weren't even allowed what Dr. John Clark would call the illusion of inclusion. We knew we were black. We knew that certain things weren't for us, and it kept us in kind of like our, and I don't want to say our place, but it kept us in like a bubble. But it ended up benefiting us in the end because for the most part, we were never under an illusion that we were part of the system. Therefore, we called ourselves black in diametric opposition to white.
Well, that's right. And the Jamaicans have this belief system of out of many one. And they said that a Chinese Jamaican is the same as an Arab Jamaican or an Indian Jamaican. And so they don't make a distinction. And in fact, they said Jamaica is a race. So if you go on their website, Jamaicans.org, I think it says Jamaicans a race apart. Jamaicans a race apart, and that's official from their country. Out of many, one, and we're all one people. They came out, one of their most popular songs is One Love. Let's get together and feel all right. They came out of slavery happy and singing about banana boats and all this stuff. They didn't come out singing about strange fruit falling off of a tree. They had churches, you see, and they didn't come out singing the blues. They had some instruments down there, and the only thing that's original from those islands is steel pan drums because somebody left some oil cans in Trinidad. They just did not express the same things that we've expressed from our experiences here. And they also don't have the same creativity, they don't have the same sports prowess, and they definitely don't have all those inventions, and they needed the inventions as well. I mean, they don't have them. They worked in agriculture and sugar processing and things like that, and yet they did not come up with these inventions. Maybe there was no incentive. I'm not sure what's going on, but they just don't have the same output that Black Americans had. They also didn't create all these world class schools and all the rest of it. So basically, we're not the same people, and there's absolutely nothing similar about us other than being brown.
Yeah, let me take us way. She's right. She's right. And let me take us way back. Last time I was in West Africa, I learned something that really changed my life. If you look at the jumbotron, you'll see a picture. Some of you've seen multiple times of me standing at Cape at Elmina Castle. Now, y'all listen to me real closely, Black Americans. What I learned is that at Elmina, if you look directly behind me in the first picture, you'll see a slave dungeon directly up the road from Elmina. That's called Cape Coast. What I learned in Ghana is what would become Black Americans and what would become blacks from the Africans that went to the Caribbean were segregated and put to different castles as it were. And I just couldn't for the life of me understand what's the difference. Like, you're rounding up slaves. Why is it important to separate these different groups? Well, I learned some mind blowing shit after perusing through Dr. Chancellor Williams, The Destruction of Black Civilization. Dr. Williams posited that we were separated because the groups in Cape Coast up the hill were a group of people called the Bushong people, who were had lineage associated with the ancient, I hate saying this word, but I'm gonna play ball, the ancient Egyptians. So there was a plot underhand, and I'm telling y'all a bit much. I'm feeling generous on my fallen brothers the special day. What a lot of people don't understand is there was a plot underhand from the beginning to recreate Egypt in America. I said it in Spain, I said it. And people were rounded up based on a civil war that happened in Egypt, Kemet, 1,000 years prior, people were the people inhabitants of Egypt were displaced from Alexander the Great. Told me one Laggy in his debacle. They went west, and as Chancellor Williams identifies in his masterpiece, the West Africans had nothing but vitriol and jealousy towards the Bouchon, or the descendants of the ancient Egyptians. The descendants of the ancient Egyptians did two things. They ran to the mountains. That's why you have the Dogon people in Mali, and they like the rest of us, we turned to refugees in different areas in West Africa. Now these refugee areas were the first to go when the slave trade came. And I read in Dr. Chancellor Williams' book that the Portuguese were on a mission looking specifically for us. What I'm saying, Black Americans, is we were specifically designated to come to America to build America. Let me give you evidence of that. Who built Washington, D.C.? Benjamin Banneker. We had me and my students had the biggest discovery the other day. I was talking about secret societies. And well, I wasn't talking about it, but let's just say secret societies came up. And one of my students was like, Dr. A, how did Benjamin Banneker, we went over his design of Washington, D.C., and it was like, well, how did Benjamin Banneker know that? He didn't go to anybody's college. And I have my suspicions that he was members of secret society, but I can't prove it. Like, I've been looking, digging deep, looking at rare books and whole biographies on Benjamin Banneker, but it has nothing to do. It never tells how he learned it. I mean, the man he made the first clock in America by himself, the first working clock. He built Washington, D.C. How in the hell did he know how to do this? Well, we were going over Memphite theology, and how Osiris was killed by his evil brother Set, and they cut him into 13 pieces, and they could find all the pieces but one. The piece they couldn't find was his penis, and that's why the obelisk in DC is representative. When y'all see those big tall like pencil looking things, that's representative of the penis of Osiris that they never found. The theology says that it was killed, it was eaten by a catfish, but it's done in like honor of Osiris. So that's what you're looking at when you see those pencil looking things, because they're called obelisks. I forgot what the Egyptians called them, but I'll look it up in a moment. But long story short, um those obelisks are can be indicative of being a member of a certain society. We're gonna leave it right there. So one of my students, in all his brilliance, said, "Dr. A, look up Benjamin Banneker's gravesite." And I looked at his gravesite and I hit images, and it was an obelisk. I was like, "Holy shit!" Benjamin Banneker was part of an ancient secret society, you know, that knew how to build stuff. This rabbit hole goes deep. In conclusion, I want to say that the Black American experience is unique because, for the most part, um, those of us who have lineage that goes back to Africa, we're pre-selected to come over here in the first place. That's where all the inventions came from. Cash Games, what's on your mind?
Peace,
We have
Professor.
some speakers coming up. Hey,
Peace, yeah. Hey, y'all speaking about the distinctions. Um, in my understanding, the island of Haiti, right, or Haiti, that was its original name before Europeans even arrived there, according to the Taino. And so when the Haitian Revolution happened, they were supposed to try to rename the whole island Haiti to respect like pre-European terminology. So I always wanted to shout that out, and that's something that never really made sense to me as an American, but I can see it when I look at those people as well. Um, let me see here. I heard that during the Haitian Revolution, that unlike in America, when a white man, assaulted an enslaved person and had a child, they would look that child in the eyes and say, "You're going to be enslaved for all history," right? Um, in Haiti, in my understanding, if a white man had a child, they would free their child. And there was like 20% of the plantations during the Haitian Revolution were owned by these like upper class, like I don't want to say mulattoes because they're
No,
black
the
too,
Dr. Jacob Carruthers used that exact word. So
right?
mulattoes is
Mulatto,
correct.
right? Yeah. So these mulattoes, that own plantations where they were enslaving people, but at the same time, maybe have helped weaponize them because it sounds like the revolution began from those plantations. So I wanted to shout out that distinction. I was sitting there as a Black American, like I know anyone who comes from an enslaved person is enslaved. That's what the American rule is. So white folks used to look at their children and enslave them for generations, but the French people maybe had some type of heart or whatever. But the more I looked into the story, the less I cared about the white side of it. But I'm just saying, that's a distinction I think is unique between the two of us. Like we were enslaved for our entire generation, while someone might have gotten the golden ticket if they had a white dad. Unless I got that wrong.
No, you're
No,
exactly right. Go ahead,
you're
man.
right. And that's the same system that they tried to install in Louisiana under the French.
Yeah,
So,
Napoleonic Code. It's called Code Noir, which means black code. And in New Louisiana, and for instance, in New Orleans, if you were a white man and you had a baby with a black slave, you had to enslave black woman rather. We were never slaves. That's a misnomer. But if you had a baby with an enslaved black woman, you had to marry her, and you had duty to your child until he was 18 years old. That was different than where I'm from in Birmingham, Alabama, which is not that far from New Orleans, relatively, where you could have a baby. The slave master could have a baby by the enslaved woman and take the baby outside and just execute it, just kill it, and nobody would say anything because the baby was considered property. It's a little insanity in that, actually, if you think about it. But yeah, we ain't the same. We're not. And looking on, even looking at places like Jamaica, they were treated awfully. I'm not going to take away anything from the Jamaican struggle, but just having that illusion of inclusion. What does that do to your self-esteem when you say, I can do anything I want to do, you know what I'm saying? Because I see him doing it. We weren't allowed to even see black people doing foundational black Americans in certain positions. That was a big no-no. We weren't allowed to um, um, drive, to quote John Henry Clark, we weren't allowed to drive the garbage truck. Anything involving any ounce of power, it was intentionally done, intentionally manipulated to where a white hand was doing it to program us. In conclusion, what I want to flip on right now that I taught in a lecture a couple years ago to the city of Memphis, is called extrinsic motivational factors. When you're looking at what motivates people to do stuff outside of them, money is an extrinsic motivational factor in black community. Where because money is an issue, and I noticed that the when I was doing a study that Michael Jordan was used in this capacity back in the day. Saying I want to be like Mike, I want to be like Mike, and I was like, oh my God, what a clever attack on foundational Black Americans, because you present this world class elite miracle basketball player, and you posit you plant the idea that everybody could be like Mike, just drink milk, which is against our diet, by the way. That's a whole nother point. But and what does that do? That's a setup for failure for millions of foundational Black Americans, including me. I wrote an essay when I was in high school. I'm telling y'all my business, but I wrote an essay that I wanted to be like Michael Jordan. I said that. Can you believe that? But Michael Jordan was a weapon used against the black community because he conditioned black American males to want to be an athlete when substantially less than 1% of all athletes make it to the NBA. And let me add this: the entry level salary in the NBA is $200,000 a year, which is not that impressive. People don't know that either. Go ahead.
yeah, if you are good at basketball in high school, you have, as much chance as winning the lotto to make it all the way to the big time. So, and to make it to Michael Jordan levels is even out of this world. So you should always have a plan B, and the plan B should be plan A, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you're factual. I was mentored when I moved to Memphis by AC Warden. He was a mayor of Memphis at the time. He took me on his wing and showed me the game. Well, I was working with AC Warden, and AC got sick of this issue and had a rented out a auditorium where he was talking to young black men, high school age to early college. And AC put up statistics. He said, "How many of you want to be in the NBA?" Half the damn room raised their hand, and he said, "What Wani said?" He said, "You have a better chance of getting struck by lightning than joining the NBA." Blah blah blah. And he was like, "Well, young men, I love y'all. I want y'all to. I'm here to help y'all. I want y'all to come up with Plan B. Have a Plan B." And you know what they said? Their Plan B was the NFL.
Oh, come on, guys.
But that's attack. That's a psychological warfare attack on us to how this ties into what we're saying about the black identity is we weren't allowed the illusion of inclusion like the Jamaicans were. We were force fed this ideology of be an athlete, be an entertainer that I'm seeking to break. That's one of my purposes on planet Earth.
Well, all I ask is that when you get these scholarships to play basketball or football or any sport, just make sure that you actually do your classwork and pick some alternate career that you're going to like or that you're going to want to be interested in. That's all I'm saying because, at this point, they just give them passing grades because they're doing good in sports. And that's the part that hurts them in the long run. When it doesn't, even if you're a great athlete, you could get an injury and then that's the end of you as well. So there's a lot going against you as an athlete.
I
Who
saw.
is next?
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, who is next to talk?
I think it was Black Truth and Alonzo. But I quickly want to say that when I taught in Birmingham, Alabama, right out of college, I actually left a law firm to teach. But anyway, I'm not gonna say his name because y'all all know him, but we had a young man that made it to the NFL, walked on right, went graduated high school, went to University of Alabama, didn't stay in Alabama a semester, got drafted, first round pick, and his first fucking game, he got his hip broke. So yeah, plan B,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
I, I saw Lando with his hand up too, so
Okay. Lando, put your
I
hand
didn't know
back
what
up if you don't mind.
I didn't know which. Okay, whoever's next.
I think it was, and y'all can correct me. Was it Black Truth or Lando?
For some reason, I can't see everyone on the stage. I can't even see Wani. So if
Gosh.
someone is ahead of me, they can go.
Go ahead, Lando. And then we'll go to Black Truth and then Alonzo.
How's it going?
Hey, brother.
It's my first time speaking on one of these Twitter Spaces. Thanks for having me. I'm Jamaican. I'm listening to you guys. It's been eye opening hearing your guys' opinions and everything like that. It's been great. It's great. Wani, I've heard you speak a lot. I've heard you professor as well. It's absolutely fantastic. You guys are having some really good insights there. Um, the Chancellor Williams stuff, fantastic book. I read that. Destruction of Black Civilization. He had some wonderful insights as well too. You're absolutely right, Wani, about the way that Jamaicans really came up, especially the way things diverged after slavery. Definitely did not have like a Jim Crow Reconstruction era where they had, to be fighting for certain rights and whatnot. They were kind of supplanted with, the Indians and the Chinese to come in and really take over um, stuff. And they really didn't really fight against that. The warrior class of people, was the Maroons or the Jamaican Maroons who became turncoats. They literally turned on the other enslaved people and became slave catchers. So it's a really convoluted place. Mixed up. They say that there was obviously a bunch of different tribes all mashed together and brought together. We're not exactly sure who's who and what's what, but it's not very clear. But what is clear is that there was no movement like the Black Panthers. There was no movements like, some liberation movements and whatnot like that, and coming up into Canada where I live now, um, or I have been since I was a child. What inspired uh black pride in me was seeing that. I know you guys say that we're not black and black is the ethnicity of Black Americans. I respect that. I know there is also the narrative that, Jamaicans don't consider themselves as black and whatnot too, or other Caribbeans. I guess that's being said. I just want to clear that up. Jamaicans do consider that they're black. They do see themselves as black, but I'm not gonna
They say
debate
that. Why don't they say that on the website? See,
on.
this is. I
See,
just.
you see that? Like, I can't even agree with them. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on in Jamaica? I try to distance myself from it, and uh, I do within myself at some point want to be able to go back there and try to do something positive to help and build. But the way that things are operating, like I was watching the other page and he posted the video of the Chinese guy just beating or telling the guy to get out of his store and cussing at him and bumbleclot this, that. And he was like, oh, please, please. I was like, oh man, this is fucking pathetic, man. You guys look so sad out here. You know what I mean? Like, where's your fight? You know what I mean? Black Americans, I know you guys would never stand for something like that. I
And
know
you
you guys
said
would be coming back to fucking shut that guy down and shit like that. But I see that happening all the time. That's not a one off, you know, in so
in
many
Jamaica?
different instances. Oh, yeah.
What
Yeah.
about in
That's what I mean.
Canada? What about in
Yeah, that's what I
Canada?
mean, right? And even I saw that Chinese woman that was there that was going viral over the couple years ago talking about, oh, Jamaica is, you know, I could speak patois and this and that. It's not black. Jamaica's not a black country. It's not an African thing. It's and you know there were some Jamaicans defending it, but a lot were standing in opposition to it, you know. But I don't know what to say about that, but I know it doesn't sit well with me. And I know other Jamaicans, it doesn't really necessarily sit well with them too. But that lack of that lack of black pride, like like that black Americans have, I would definitely attribute it to not being raised in a system or in direct opposition to white people in such close proximity. You know what I mean? Like you guys are defined by the fact that hey, we are here and we've had to fight for everything against these people. Jamaicans, like you said, have largely been in a majority black country. So they didn't or black skinned people country, so they don't feel like they've had to experience that. And that's where a lot of the white worshiping comes from too, right? They you know they see white people as this exotic thing. And that was an interesting point that you brought up about the royalty or the nobility being very much involved in that time, because yeah, they definitely I don't know what it is, but I didn't look at that point before you mentioned that, but I could see it. It was I forget who or what the rank of the guy was. He was some governor, you know, whoever they put as governor over Jamaica. Same with the Bahamas too, that were running the country. But they had some vile people there too. They had some very vile things happening. You know, they had this one guy, I forget what his name was. He was like abusive, very abusive, making them shit in each other's mouths and all that. Yeah, we get into some stuff that was absolutely disgusting. They say Willie Lynch came there and, you know, wrote his letter based on how he was treating the slaves there and stuff. So we could talk about all of that, but definitely the difference. Even Marcus Garvey, you know, I put him in quotations. You know, I'm very much against him. You know what I mean? I speak out against the things that he did when he came to America all the time. I've posted a lot of his quotes too. When he first came to America, he was, you know, championing Black Americans, saying how, you know, you guys are the most advanced for all the black skinned people across the diaspora and including Africans as well. I posted the direct excerpt from one of his speeches, how he said what you guys had achieved coming out of slavery within 50 years is because when was he there in like the early 1900s, the 1920s? And he said in 50 years, you guys had achieved way more than any black people anywhere in the
Any
world.
white people, gypsies are still on the ground. They've never recovered from slavery.
Right, right. I don't dispute that at all. So he definitely was, you know, speaking. You know, some people say, well, he's a grifter, right? So he was saying whatever he had to say. They'll say that in one breath, but at the same time say that he was this great, you know, mover and shaker. I don't know where to peg him or put him, but I definitely don't agree with him, you know, trying to take a stance that, you know, everybody needs to be removed and sent back home and repatriation and whatnot, right? If you guys say no, this is our land and we built this and we're not leaving our homes, then who's he as an outsider to come in and try to make pacts with your enemies to say, yes, we agree that black people should be removed, and you guys should go to another country to be your own people and let white people benefit from the free labor that you guys built, right? That made no sense, and he was definitely out of his
Well, why do you think Caribbeans continue to butt their heads into what we're doing? Even up to present day, they are on the Congressional Black Caucus. They're leading the NAACP, and they sit on our reparations boards and say we shouldn't get reparations while they crawl on their knees to get reparations from CARICOM. Why do they continue to do this without getting a punishment?
That's a tough question, and I don't know the answer to that. What I can say is that when the whole Pan-African movement, was popping off and whatnot, because that's what initially brought me to, you know, um, I can only speak for myself. So Pan-Africanism brought me to like that sense of pride in blackness and whatnot, right? I found Tariq, I found the FBA movement and all that on Twitter a couple years ago, back just in the pandemic. And at first I was like, oh, what is this? Because I had watched the Hidden Colors and all of that stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, he's really good. He's spitting facts. During that time, I was reading up on, you know, everything that I had learned about blackness was from Black Americans. So it didn't really shake me when you guys started saying, hey, no, we have our own thing, and started to differentiate that black Americans are different from everybody else, and that we are the leaders in this, and we're the ones fighting white supremacy. And then it just clicked. I was like, for real, because everything I have learned was always Black Panthers, Malcolm X, the Nation of Islam, the Martin Luther King, the the names are slipping my mind right now, but everything that I'd learned, from the scholars and whatnot, Chancellor Williams and the Hugh P. Newtons and all that, all Black Americans. So I'd it wasn't a stretch for me to see that, Black Americans are the ones that are leading this thing and have been leading this fight against white supremacy. And although every other country seems to be getting oppressed, or and they are under the foot of white supremacy, the only ones that have been fighting it, especially in the public, that I can see and that I've been learning from, are Black Americans. Now, so Pan-Africanism brought me there, but seeing you guys doing your thing, I don't disagree that you guys need to delineate, because I do think that there are some, like you guys say, you have the tethers and you do have some riders. Some people did definitely immigrate to America, and some that still stay in their homelands are still believe in we need to be united, and we need to joined together. And the ones that immigrated to America did feel a sense of brotherhood, camaraderie, because they did feel like they've been subjected or are going to be subjected to the same kind of treatment and things. But somewhere along the line, a lot of those people saw the opportunity to sell out, and they realized that there are benefits to be gained by going opposing Black Americans. And that's all I can say it is. It's just
Thank you for
personal
saying
greed,
that.
individualism. You know what I mean? That's all I can say. Just like you can see some musicians, some artists, some whoever, they're willing to do things that are detrimental to the community, even though they know it is, they're gonna still do it because you know what? I gotta get a check. You know what I mean? You got your Candace Owens, you got your fucking, the Thomas Souls, whatever, whoever. You know what I mean? If they're gonna be out here, uh, you know, unashamedly, bashing black people and just talking shit, like as if like, there's no objective reasoning with them. They're not sitting there and looking at things A lot of it is indoctrination too. I have a cousin who, she's Gen Z, growing up in Jamaica, good in school and everything. She moved to the States, and you know I hadn't talked to her for a number of years. And as soon as she came, she's in university, whatever. As soon as she comes, she's dating a white guy, just like a bum ass looking white guy. She's like graduating summa cum laude. She's valedictorian, all this stuff, killing it in school. I'm thinking this girl's gonna grow up to be something like some high class girl. She's involved in politics or whatever, and she's dating some bummy looking white dude that's smoking cigarettes on her Facebook and shit. I'm like, what the fuck is this? She's talking shit about black men and shit like that, and talking about that whole narrative about baby mamas and this and that. I'm like,
Which is a
and how
term,
fatherless.
which is a term created in Jamaica, according to
Well,
the
yeah.
dictionary.
So just now we there's a new report circling on the Jamaican blogs that is saying that 40 the national average for paternity fraud is 47% right now. And they have a map laid out of the different parishes, which are like the different states, different parishes, and how they're trending, if they're above or below the national average. And there's 14 parishes in Jamaica. There's probably about 3 of them that are below the average, so they're sitting at about 40 to 45% paternity fraud, and the others are like 50, 55%, some as much as 69 to 70% paternity fraud, right? So yeah, Jamaica's definitely leading number one or number two between them and Nigeria in paternity fraud and stuff like that. So that's not even something that they could talk about. Crime rates, murder rates, there's just so much going on there. So I don't understand why they get up with this, you know and that whole hate for black Americans. Now, my dad and my mom, I never experienced that with them. But largely we live in Canada, but my dad has always made friends and been cool. I have family that lives in Connecticut and New York and stuff like that too. Never heard them really talk shit about Americans or anything like that, but definitely getting around some Jamaicans, you do hear that, they might not, the ones that I'm talking personally, might not speak directly, like condescendingly, or what's the words that I'm looking for? They might not come out and absolutely trash Jamaicans like you'd hear some white people talk about black people, but there would be that hint of condescension. There would be that hint of, like, you could hear some kind of, like you have something against them. You know what
Well,
I
well, it's
mean?
a reason
Like,
for that. I don't want to lose context with that because you are a straight cook.
definitely jealousy. That's the
Well,
only thing
well,
I can say.
no, it's more.
Because because
It's deeper than that.
Mhm.
Let's look at Dr. Claude Anderson and on page 102 of Black Labor, White Wealth. Claude says, as a matter of fact, quote, excuse me, as a matter of fact, ethnic and racial immigrants historically have been a wedge between whites and blacks, giving whites an alternative to interacting with blacks. Each time in history, either before or after a war, when the American economy was expanding and could have offered material comfort benefits to blacks, a new influx of immigrants or refugees arrived to fill the void, further exile blacks from fruitful participation in the national life, according to historian Dan Lacey. So it's the same fucking tactic. Black Americans, write this down. It's the same uh, Captain Oglethorpe tactic of send a group of immigrants to be buffer, send a group of immigrants to take, to get money that's allocated to you, as a by proxy attack on black Americans, attack on our spirit. You know what I'm saying? I bring up my dad. Dad wanted a gas station. He wanted a little gas station. And dang, I get a little emotional thinking about this. But my dad served in the Navy during Vietnam. He volunteered for that motherfucker late in the war when it was unpopular. In 1971, he signed up. Naval intelligence. Got out the war. Got out the Navy and tried to get loans on small businesses. Denied, 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 denied. And I went to high school with a dude whose family was on the boats from Vietnam. They were refugees. They got in the water and they were hoping the Navy would take them. The Navy picked them up, took them to California, came over here. My friend, colleague, whatever you want to call him, his father did to this day don't speak English, but he got loan after loan on a gas station that sold us liquor when we were children, just straight destroying the black community. They also got a loan on a nail shop, and I heard that they would make fun of black women while they did their nails in Vietnamese. Why can't we get those loans? That's what Dr. Claude Anderson was saying. So how this ties into what you were saying, brother, is uh, some of these immigrant class of people are fully aware that they're being used as a wedge. What Dr. Claude Anderson calls a wedge, I'm gonna call it a motherfucking weapon, used as a weapon against us, and they play along. Which, okay, if you want to do that, that's cool, but don't play along and act like this. Dr. Claude Anderson says, quote, that today there is little cooperation, political or otherwise, between blacks and minority groups. For the most part, ethnic minorities do not support black causes. They have been getting a free ride at black people's expenses on civil rights and minority programs. I've seen this happen with my own eyes, taking up all the scholarships. As members of loosely formed political coalitions, they are most quiet while blacks agitate, but they are quick to stand on their claim on affirmative action benefits won by black. I seen that shit play out the historical black college when I was a professor administrator, left and right. You know what I'm saying? Not fighting the fight, staying, chilling in the cut. But when all the goodies show up, they run up and snatch them out the mouth of our black children because our black children are out here fucking fighting. You
Man,
know, go ahead, Warning.
I was just going to say, so what should be the penalty for foreigners coming to the United States? And my responses have been to actual things that Caribbeans have done, not to Twitter posts. And I made sure of that. Yeah, there are a lot of Twitter posts, but I have based my opinion, my poor opinion of them, based on like the fact that we're banned from participating in CARICOM, right? But they allow South Americans to be part of it. And they said, well, we can't be a part of it because we're not Caribbean. But they make allowances for other groups. At the same time they're saying that, they have wormed their way on everything that we have over here, all of our political systems, like I said, Congressional Black Caucus, and all of these organizations have stopped advocating for Black Americans. They now advocate for issues in the islands and
Facts.
migration problems and, hurricane relief. This is all we hear. Um, Another
You know
thing
what?
that I don't
Mhm.
appreciate is them coming over here and getting beat up in nail salons and beating each other up in Crown Heights. They did a lot of things in Crown Heights, and their black faces are classified as black crime. We don't get
Yep.
beat up by
Shower
Asians.
posse.
All of the things that they've done, those things are classified as us. They started a full blown riot in Crown Heights. And our leaders came out and said that Black Americans need to learn how to get along with Jews. We didn't fight the Jews. We didn't stab the Jews. We didn't have a car accident that caused a riot with the Jews. The Caribbeans did. A Trinidadian ran around and stabbed a Jewish man because an unrelated Jewish man ran over some South American children with Spanish last names. Okay? These are all immigrants. And that whole riot was placed in our lap. They have done everything conceivable against us. They spread drugs through the neighborhood, like, oh, yeah, we're over here partying, cool, cool. We're
Yep.
one of you. Everything you could do to destroy another group, Caribbeans have done, including the complete and utter theft, massive amounts of lies about creating hip hop,
Oh
just
yeah.
awful behavior.
Yep.
And I just, I feel like it's based on when you really look at what they've ever come up with, it hasn't been anything because it's
Yep.
not even reggae. It's nothing.
Yep.
And that has left an attitude that I'm never going to recover from because they haven't apologized and it's not going to be some random person's apology. Their
Right.
CARICOM is going to have to apologize. Not only that, they made public
So
statements from their politicians saying that Black Americans can just scooch the hell over and give Caribbeans whatever reparations they get. That was a public statement from one of those
yeah.
bimbos over there propped up in the Caribbean. And then at the same time, we're not allowed to even monitor CARICOM. So no, and then again, that Trinidad, they got tens of thousands of signatures against someone trying to create, to use the
The
word
Juve thing.
Juve.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
when we had a girl who
I've
won a
been
spelling
following
bee,
quite a bit of the stuff. Yeah.
when we had that little girl that won a spelling bee, she got trashed online by Jamaicans because they were angry, talking about we won it first when they didn't win it first. We won it
Oh my
first because
gosh.
we won the first spelling bee in the United States of America in the early 1900s. A little black girl won it. It's just been something. And then to realize that they also launched horrible attacks on our sprinters, on
Shakari.
all of
Yeah.
these people, and
Shakari.
they're still
Yeah.
trying to be friends with them and still saying, I love everybody, I love all the flags. We're
Yeah.
taking all kinds of
I was there.
brash, and
Yeah.
it's not right because they come over here to train. Any kind of athletic
Yep.
abilities that they have is from sucking on the teats of Black Americans, everything they've
Even
ever
that girl
done.
that even that girl that won the sprinting, they were like they were so happy that somebody else other than Shakari, even though the Jamaicans didn't win. I forget what her name was. Is it Maj Talu or whatever? She was from one of
Yeah,
them other islands.
yeah.
She won,
Hmm.
and they were just so happy that it was anybody but the Americans. And I was like, this is disgusting, man.
And they
You guys are
flip.
so pathetic. And she actually was training in Texas or something like
They
that. She went to
always are.
university
They
there,
always are.
right?
They're
So I was
permanent
like, what are you
parasites.
guys even carrying on about? But what I will say to professors thing about you're absolutely right. I I kind of Dr. Claude Anderson. I've read his Powernomics. Haven't read Black Labor White Wealth yet, but I will try to get that in. And he's very knowledgeable, very well respected. Everything that he has to say is definitely legitimate. Like you said, the wedge, the tool to be supplanted. These are all types of games that white supremacists play. They play games with people's lives and things like that. So I wouldn't go against that. To whatever everything that you said, Wani, I 100% agree. To your question about what should be the punishment or how should you deal with it, I say do as you see fit. You know,
Well, I'm gonna say this.
how you guys are dealing with it right
I'm
now,
gonna say it's our
delineating.
brother on Tariq kind of brought up over and over again. We need people like you to make uh your colleagues, your Jamaican colleagues, aware of it.
I am.
Yeah.
I am to what ability I am. I'm on social media. I make my statements. There's a guy, that who is it? Cornbread posted a video with some guys walking around with some heads, and there was little discourse going on, and some guy with some Jamaican flags jumped in and said, "Oh, we maim our criminals. You guys defend them." And I was like, "That can't be true. You guys, Jamaica would not have such a high murder rate and all that." I'm quick to jump in that, but beyond
With
what
all
I'm
due respect,
noticing,
brother, listen, you come on here and you
yeah,
completely trash your people. You should be embarrassed yourself, my brother. Do you know what I mean?
why should I
You
be?
come here,
Why
you
should
start.
I
No,
be?
hold on a second. And
Yeah,
Hold on. Let the gentleman land his plane because that kind of.
yeah. Let me land my plane here before you
in a
go.
very cute way, you ended up
Hey,
saying,
hold
you
on,
know what?
Resco. Resco. Let him land his plane. We
All
don't.
Let me finish here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, as I was saying, Wani, you guys do as you see fit. All I would say is that you do keep uh an objective mind, open mind, that there are people that do not agree with some of the things that are going on, but at the same time, you guys got to guard your space and protect yourselves. So you do as you guys have been doing, but just try to keep it understanding that it like when you guys use certain terms, it can't just be blanketed. But I don't disagree that you have to protect yourselves, and all this, the majority or the high number of these things that are happening, that you're gonna feel defensive in any way. And I don't disagree with you for being defensive and feeling like we're being attacked, we're being taken advantage of, or any of that. It's all justified. I'll step back and you guys do what you guys need to do there. What I will say is that the way that Black Americans have been able to form groups, whether it be FBA, ADOS, or back in the day, how you guys would come together under MLK and Black leadership in other Black leadership groups, NOI, and all that. I don't see anything like that movement wise coming out of the Caribbean. The only thing I saw at one point was the Rastafarians, and they dissipated with their energy, dissipated over the last like 20 years. They don't have that kind of, oomph, like, hey, we're rising, we're fighting white supremacy, we're speaking out against certain things and all that. It's kind of just fodder and just smoking weed and talking shit now, right?
What
It's
a
not really
load of
amounted to anything.
absolute
So
nonsense. What a
And
load of
they
yeah.
nonsense.
also
So
Hold on,
so
Resco. Resco,
anyways,
let
Resco, you out of order. So
yeah.
Resco,
No,
hold,
So
hold on, come
hold,
on,
hold
man.
that,
You
when
can't make
hold
me
that
laugh.
when those
thought.
I'm not even
people
Jamaican,
Hold
but I
that
feel like I
thought.
can
need to
you
come here and defend
relax?
Jamaicans.
Hold on,
when
man.
those people
Say,
when those
I'm not a
people
mute monster. Yeah, go to
I've
listener
just
for a
moved
second.
him down there.
He can't control himself. I was
He
gonna
can
let him
come back
talk.
in a second.
Yeah,
So my point in bringing that up is that when you say, character, just like you have the boule class, that are getting out there parroting, certain points, and then you guys will counter their voice. We don't have that. You have, the boule Jamaicans or Caribbeans or whatever speaking and saying certain things, CARICOM or whatever. That's not the voice of all Jamaicans, all Caribbeans aggregated. Everybody's kind of all scattered all over the place. They're not united on everything. They're all just worried about themselves. Some people are going to speak in support of it. Some people are just talking shit. Some people are just here for the party. Some people just want to smoke weed. Some people are just here for the laughs and the jokes. There isn't like this organized group that is like, hey, this is what we support. This is a grassroots movement, and this is how we feel. So if something like that
May I
comes
say
together,
something real quick?
yeah.
Not only do you not have that because it's just not in you guys, but you have managed to destroy the one that we had up here.
hello.
You're destructive. And I want to
And
know what to do about the destruction.
and please do not call us a group. It's a lineage.
Right, right. No disrespect there. I was just speaking in terms of like, I'm not speaking on FBA. I understand the whole lineage situation there. I understand that it's obviously your descendants of slavery in America and freedmen. But I was just talking like how you guys have been, because all the people that are descendants of slaves in America are not grouping themselves together as ADOS. Some people are not aware of the label, although they are FBA by lineage. They're not, you know, uh,
You're
calling
making them,
themselves that.
but you guys are making them aware every day. The more bad behavior that you exhibit and the more pushback we give, the more people find out. That's why this has gone so quickly, because every time we spoke about reparations, some Caribbeans were screaming that we don't deserve it. And people are looking like, what are these people about? Or, I thought they were supposed to be on our side. Since we've been on everybody's side in the whole universe, we at least thought that our
Absolutely.
nearest neighbors would be on our side. So
Yeah.
Always fall on
basically,
the side
the
of good.
Pan Africans have told us to accept the bad behavior, just like your mother would tell you to put up with your baby sister copying
Right.
off of you and reading your diary and stealing your boyfriend. Oh, that's your sister.
I don't agree.
Neither do
I
I.
don't agree with
Neither
that.
do I.
I don't agree with that.
At some
You guys
point,
you guys got to guard your space. It's survival, right? Why wouldn't
Well,
you?
hold
And
on. This
if
is
you're seeing your
hold
erasure
on one
take
second.
place in front
That's
of your
very
face.
interesting because Wani, did you catch that? That's what the gentleman from Ethiopia said basically the other day in the other space. Like basically I'm hearing that in a way logically, almost like the Ethiopian guy that said, "Well, I didn't ask you to help me." You know what I'm saying? I'm hearing this gentleman say. Well, it's up to you to guard your space, and I'm saying that
Hmm.
we're getting our instructions just to let's stop
No,
trying to
no,
help
I'm not.
everybody.
I'm not trying. I'm not trying to say like in some kind of, you're on your own, you gotta protect
Well, we
yourself and
are
nobody's gonna
because
help
you
you. No,
guys are
I'm
like
saying,
a headless
well, you do
snake.
have to. You do
You
have
guys are
to.
like a headless snake. I mean, you're
I'm
just
not, and I can't speak for
wagging
anybody
all
else,
over
but
the
I
place.
understand if you want to group me with everybody. I completely
And don't
understand your
take this
It's
defensiveness.
personally.
collective.
Obvious.
I
Don't.
don't,
It's
and that's the thing. I
collectively.
don't take it personally at all, because I totally. If I were in your shoes, I would totally be responding the same exact way. That's what I want you guys to understand here. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm sitting on the outside looking at this, and looking at people that I learned a lot from, and saying, "Shit, these guys are right."
Why are
You know what I
you
mean?
why and then
And that's that.
the other thing about it is all of the people that are getting on our nerves get on everybody else's nerves and they don't even like themselves. That's why they're not in their home countries because they hate themselves. They've created hells for themselves and they want to go, get to some other place, Canada, the UK, America. They've created hells and the hell is them. There's nothing wrong
Mhm.
with the land. The land is fine. But
Oh, Jamaica's
the
rich in
people
in
are
in all
not
kinds of.
okay.
Well, 100%. The Jamaica's has a lot of natural resources. Um, so Jamaica used to be one of the number one exporters of bauxite, which is used in the production of aluminum. And there's a new it the byproduct of creating aluminum is it produces gallium. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with gallium, but gallium is used nowadays in a lot of tech, used to manufacture the microchips, semiconductors, and also is being used in the medical field and stuff like that. So if you go and look on Wikipedia, they'll tell you about all the uses for
Well,
gallium.
well,
Jamaica has a
let's
large
hold that
deposits
thought.
of.
Hold that thought, Lando.
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask that you come back up. We
Bring up
got
the
other
other guy.
speakers,
Sure.
Yeah,
but I
let's
don't
get
want to
some
lose
more
context of
people.
something.
Yep.
The context is these groups prey on foundational Black Americans. We are the prey, and it doesn't matter where you're talking about. We are viewed as an opportunity. Our bravery, like Dr. Claude Anderson said, our initiative to fight
People are
for.
gonna try to come up off you.
Yeah, and you saw that with the with Ethiopia when we helped them. What the Ethiopians
Oh yeah.
gave us
In 19, yep,
citizenship, and who ran over
yep.
there.
Shashamani, the land. Haile Selassie gave that land to. Well, he said, I to the Americans and all the people in the diaspora that want to come home. But it was primarily after the actions that the Americans took
How
to
is
help them in
Ethiopia
the
or
war against the
how is
Italians.
Ethiopia
Right?
in any stretch of the imagination the home of Black Americans? Are people losing their minds?
I'm not saying that.
Not
I'm just
you,
saying that.
but
Oh,
the
okay, but
idea of
yeah.
it.
Well, I don't know where or what. Well, he did. Haile Selassie said that, you guys are, uh, black people in the diaspora are, Africans, and if they want to return back to Africa, he gave a lot of land, that Shashamani place, and it got settled by the Rastafarians, and who
Oh,
worshipped
they're a
him as
bunch of
God,
dumb.
and
They're a bunch of
that
bums.
Yeah, that
that land has not been developed. You know
I'm
what I
saying
mean?
that
You
that's
talk
some
to Ethiopians.
that's some dumb ass shit. They're gonna worship him as a god.
Yep.
Anyway, let me be careful for it.
Anyway,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
What did that other guy want to say to me? I don't
Oh
know.
no, no. We're gonna come back to you, Black
What
Truth.
they
You had
say
your
to
hand up for
you?
some time. Go ahead, Black Truth.
Salute Professor Allen. Salute Sister Wani. Sister Nikki, if you're on the stage, I can't see you, but salute to you. I'm glad that one of the brothers, I don't know exactly who it was, clarified that FBA is not a group. People like to conflate ADOS with FBA, and we've already made a clear distinction that ADOS is a group headed by an LGBTQ female who she blocked me a long time ago. I don't even know when she blocked me, but she's completely doing her own separate thing with a group and organizations and chapters. FBA is simply a lineage. It's not a group. But anyway, I wanted to cover the topic of the room, the real difference between what we experience as FBAs is at, from the rest of the diaspora is that we have a culture of resistance that hasn't stopped. Lando mentioned the Jamaicans who had a warrior class, the Maroons, who later turned into slave catchers. And so, not only that, Haiti, they fought, they did something really great, but then they had a mulatto class and a whole bunch of undermining individuals that dissipated that energy, and they ended up paying reparations to France, which, by the way, they just got finished not too long ago paying those reparations. All of the other places around the world, the Latinos, they assimilate into the quote unquote whiteness. They look at themselves as white. They can be darker than any of us here on the stage, and they'll tell you with a straight face most of the time that they're Spaniards or in some way, shape, or form hint to the fact that they are white. And so while these different places did have similarities as far as chattel slavery, they did not share the common bond of just constant resistance to oppression. And another thing that separates us from these other groups is that we tell the whole story. We're not ashamed of our history. These other groups, they hate when you bring up their
You
history
look
for
cute.
the most part. They dislike kind of mention of where they're from. They're ashamed of their homelands most of the time. They want to hide and pretend to be us, but it's just something about their spirit that's not the same as ours. We have a unique spirit. And so, for example, I'll drop this game on you for those who are Latinos. Specifically, I heard this in Mexico, but you can start to use this talking point. They have a phrase in Mexico that says "que indio," eres un indio, ay que indio. They'll say that, and what that means, because they're saying that you're Indian, but they're using it in a derogatory manner. They're saying that you're an idiot. They're saying that you're stupid. They're ashamed of these cultural ties that they have. They are they reject any kind of closeness to quote unquote blackness that they may have. When you talk to some people in the Dominican Republic, they'll say, "Oh no," they'll be quick to say, "Oh no, 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 I'm not black. I'm this. I Taino and white," and then they'll briefly mention black, just like what's her name? I think she's Puerto Rican. AOC. She mentioned the fact that she has white and this and that, and then she said, "I'm black, but that doesn't make me black." And so all of these other groups are ashamed of their homelands to some extent. They, for the most part, I'm not talking about every single person, but I would say the grand majority of these people, even the person we were talking to yesterday who was, mincing words about Arabs versus, proxy Arabs, Africans, they don't like to acknowledge that history and the fact that their language, their religion, a lot of these things came from Arab influences. So we are the only group that accepts the whole history. We'll tell the whole story. We'll say, yes, we were enslaved. Yes, we went through Jim Crow. Yes, we went through the civil rights generation. And with all that being said, we're still here fighting. And that's the difference between us and the other people from the diaspora. And with that, I'll land.
Outstanding. We're gonna go to Tyrell, and then Deota. Go ahead, Tyrell.
I was supposed to go.
Oh, was it
You can
Alonzo?
go
My
ahead.
bad. You're right. You're
Yeah,
right.
go ahead,
Alonzo
though. You can
Terrell.
go
You're
ahead.
right.
It's three people that was before me. They can go ahead and go.
Okay. Go ahead, Alonzo.
Hey, Professor A, thanks for hosting the space, Wani. I'm going to be brief. Like I said, I'm known for being short and to the point. Um, is the Black American experience unique? What I posted some in the Purple Pill and the Jumbotron. It's a book entitled "Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos and Community" by Martin Luther King Jr. I'm going to read a small passage in regards to his thoughts on that matter. And so, being a Negro in America is not a comfortable experience. It means being part of a company of the bruised and battered, the scattered and the defeated. Being a Negro in America means trying to smile when you want to cry. It means trying to hold on to physical life amid psychological death. It means the pain of watching your children grow up with clouds of inferiority in their mental skies. It means having your legs cut off and then being condemned for being a cripple. It means seeing your mother and father spiritually murdered by the slings and arrows of daily exploitation and then being hated for being an orphan. Being a Negro in America means listening to suburban politicians talk eloquently against open housing while arguing in the same breath that they are not racist. It means being hauled by day and hunted by night by a nagging sense of nobodiness and constantly fighting to be saved from the poisons of bitterness. It means the aches and anguish of living in so many situations where hope unborn has died. After 348 years of racial injustice, is still the Negro's burden and America's shame. End quote. And I'll end.
That was beautiful, and I take this time to say rest in peace to our fallen brother, Dr. Martin Luther King. Rest in peace to him. Thank you for that quote. It was beautiful, my friend. Um, I think it was Tyrell. Go ahead, Tyrell.
It was a couple other people before me. They can go ahead and go.
Okay, I don't got my glasses on. Who was before you? Okay, Cash Gaines already
I
went,
want to
right?
say Alonzo.
Oh shit, she's not friendly. She's not friendly. She's not friendly. Yeah, she's not with other dogs. Sorry, y'all. I didn't hit mute.
Who's next? I don't know. The app is.
Alonzo.
Oh, go ahead, Alonzo.
No, I already went.
The app is
I just
acting
finished.
up.
Okay.
Um,
Fire Nagy.
I
Go
don't
ahead,
think I
partner.
was. Okay, I'll go ahead and go. I don't think I was next. But so I wanted to say that the woman you guys were referring to, her name was Julian Alford. She's from St. Lucia, and yes, the Jamaican sprinter Asafo Powell said that at least the Caribbean won, and that's all he cared about. Yes, the Jamaicans were very upset that we swept so many Olympic medals. So that all those parts are true, and a lot of them train here and live here. Bambulia from Liberia lives here. He trains with Area
I
90.
can barely hear you.
Yeah, Fire Nagy. I know you be dropping spitting that fire, man, but we can't hear you. You on a headset or something?
Yeah,
Oh,
hold on, hold on.
it's okay. Again,
Hear me
they
now?
keep. Yes.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, Fambuya, he's from Liberia. He trains here with Area 90. The second place female 100 hurler, she trains here. I figured her. She represented France. I figured it out because she did a press conference in English. Said, okay, I bet she trains here. She trains here. I don't know if you guys caught this earlier, but what I was saying about the woman who won the 100, yeah, the Jamaicans were cheering for her. They said, well, at least she's Caribbean. Her name is Julian Alford, but she went to the University of Texas and she was trained by Black Americans. Most of the Africans who were in the sprints were trained here. And if you actually watch the Olympics, many of the Nigerian athletes and the African athletes were going over to American trainers and asking for guidance. I noticed that in the long jump and the triple jump, and I'm like, what are they doing? And I realized, they went to college here. Um, so I want to get on to another point real fast. I'll say this: Africans have no identity, and here's why they have no identity. If you have an identity, you don't flee your homeland, and the reason is that your identity is what ties you to your homeland. When an African leaves his tribe and he goes to another tribe, he is Igbo or he is Fulani. When he leaves his country, he is Nigerian or Ghana. When he leaves the continent, he is African. And when he comes to America, he's suddenly now black. How can that be an identity if you have to change it so much, people?
Preach.
They have no identity. Okay, if you have to be so many different things when you move around about the world, then you have no identity. None that you would protect and none that you would preserve. And lastly, I'd like to say this. I know a lot of Black Americans talk about how we have a language and they always refer to Tutnese. I submit to people this. Music is a universal language. And we have perfected music and we have made so many genres. We have perfected the universal language and we have made genres in which the entire world has want to emulate, listen to, and they all love our music. That is our language. It's music. R&B, rap, blues, soul, bluegrass, country, rock and roll. These are the first languages of human beings. That's how human beings initially started being able to communicate, right? Through music. And we are very good at that. So when people say, "What is your language?" Play them a Otis Redding track. Play them play them any musical genre from 1960 to now. This is our language. It tells our story. It represents who we are, and it is universally spoken by every person on this planet because we make the best universal language, and that is our music. I land my plane.
Well, that's very fascinating to me because music and mathematics are two of the same things. I saw a special on Pythagoras, who stole what he borrowed what. Let's be nice. He borrowed what he learned from the Kemites or Egyptians, but he was talking about whole notes and the way music goes together. It's pure mathematics. It's fractions. It's addition, subtraction. Well, math is a one universal language, so that makes sense to me that music would be universal because music is math. Wanda, you were gonna say something?
Yes, and we've touched everyone everywhere on the earth, including Inuits that play jazz and all the other far flung things, people doing hip hop contests in Greenland, which I did not expect. Anyway, I just wanted to say the other thing is the delusions um, of Caribbeans approaching us like we're on equal footing. That's really one of the things that's funny. We're not on equal footing. Black Americans have almost 900, or no, sorry, over 900 gold medals, and Jamaica has 26, and they're training under us. Okay? We already had the first, we have a 50-year jump on them. We had already won gold medals 50 years before they even showed up. And the only reason that they got any foothold in track and field is because we got tired of not getting sports deals and stuff and started to go into other sports. That's it. We just left an opening. They're never going to be better than us at anything. There's a whole joke movie about them, Jamaican bobsled team. We have won a gold medal in bobsledding. Vanetta Flowers won a gold medal. They made a joke about them. So I don't know why they keep playing with us. We don't just have one sport, we have multiple sports, all kinds of far flung sports and gold medals in ice skating and speed skating and volleyball and um, everything. Uh, really, nearly everything, even gold medals in soccer. Even though we don't dominate that sport, we have shown that we are legends in sports. So I don't know why Jamaica keeps acting like we're going neck to neck. In what universe? In the one time we had a horrible steroid scandal, guess who it was? That girl hiding behind Marion Jones, hiding behind a black identity, didn't know she was Caribbean, did not know, and she didn't let anybody else know. So that's what we want to get rid of. You don't do your dirt on our name. Don't hide behind our skirt tails. Don't use our scholarships and then set up scholarships here in America that we can't use. That's all I'm saying. You're gonna
Facts.
respect my people from here on out. And that's just the way it is. It's not negotiable. And you don't have any bargaining chips. Is another thing I want to say. You can't say, well, in the future, we're not going to do this or that. You don't have anything. You never did nothing. You don't have any bargaining chips or tools. You have to go out and fight. So the next George Floyd that gets killed, you better get your ass off the couch and say something about it because you get killed just the same way. You don't have a break anyway. You used to, but you don't have one anymore. You're going to get killed the same way, and you have gotten killed multiple times, Africans and Caribbeans, repeatedly. So you better fight against it, but don't hide behind our skirt tails. The difference between Caribbeans and us is that we would never hug the white police officer that shot our child after the
Preach.
trial and try to advocate for them to get out. It's a pathetic group, and I don't want anything to do with them. So when you get slapped upside the head by an Asian, you better say who you are, because we don't do that. Our women are not getting beat up by Asian people or Indians or any of the other people that slap you upside the head. Stop associating us with you if you don't have anything positive to offer except riots and beat downs by Asians and steroid scandals and all the rest of it. You don't offer anything except trying to get into our things that we've created here. And that's all I said. Let's let Mr. Resco speak since he was up here before and
Right
couldn't
on. Come on,
control
Resco.
himself.
Where to start, eh? So many things have been said.
Did I say anything that was incorrect?
Just a plethora,
Okay, can you
literally,
okay,
of,
just
Oh,
uh,
enlighten
slow
us,
down.
please.
of
Slow down a
half
moment.
truths
Slow down a
and
moment.
misinformation.
Name
But anyway,
one
Hey,
name
hey,
let
hey,
one
me
hey,
let me
Resco, get
let me
control over yourself. We're gonna
name
slow it
one
down.
thing that I said that Caribbeans have done against Black Americans that was incorrect.
I don't even know where to start from. I mean, you completely trashing these
You
people.
said, I don't
Hold on.
want to hear your whining, little girl.
Do you want me to answer
I
your
asked you
questions,
a
or
question. I don't want to hear your
are
crying
you
and
going to keep
whining.
muting me, or are you going to let me answer?
Name,
Show some emotional intelligence,
you're
boss
gonna,
sister.
you're
Are
gonna,
you going to let
Please.
me answer, or are
you're
you going to
going
keep on
to
muting?
answer my question. And the
I'm
question
waiting.
was, name one thing that I said that Caribbeans have done against Black Americans that was incorrect.
Okay, so first of all, you're generalizing all Caribbeans, right? You ended.
Sir, name one thing
You're
that
muting me again.
because
You mute.
you're not answering the question. You're using a
Well, the
white.
one thing you, the
You're
one, well,
using white people's talking points. We
the
didn't
one
all
thing
do
that
it.
you said
We
that was
didn't all use. We
misinformation
didn't
and
all
a
have
mistruth.
slaves. Okay, tell us what did I say that was incorrect?
Okay, you just said Caribbeans would not come out and fight for the oppression of black people.
I didn't
That's
say that.
misinformation and that's a
Now,
lie.
now here we go
I
again.
don't recall her saying that.
You're not able to understand what I said. I said
It's
they
all
have.
you've been saying for the
I
last God knows.
said you have no choice because you're getting slapped upside the head. I said, you don't have a bargaining chip to say, we're not going to do that. You don't have the option. You're going to get out there or you're going to get squashed. So you
But
can't,
the premise of your argument is to assume
you don't have any argument. You have no bargaining chips. You can't say, if you don't align with us, we're going to take fill in the blank away from you because you don't have anything to take away. You haven't done anything except mooch off of another group.
Preach.
there you go generalizing
What are you
again.
going
But
to
anyway,
take away?
let me
You
respond
said
to
there
because we're
was a
not getting anywhere.
plethora of
This is
things
not
that
being
I
a proper
said that was
argument.
wrong. Now name another
Hold,
one.
I'm about to
hold on.
address it, but you're not letting me do it.
I want you, Resco. Well, hold on. Since that's so incorrect, could you name an invention or contribution that you've given to Black Americans? Could you name one?
I mean, what questions am I asking here? Am I answering? Sorry, even.
You said that's not true, so I'm giving you the opportunity to defend your stance and give us one
Okay, so
contribution, invention, or anything, a genre of
that's a
music
silly
that you've
that's a
contributed.
silly question because you know there are many contributions that
Name.
Africans
I'm
and
not
What?
saying
Caribbean.
many. I said one. Just one.
Seriously, you want me to go through
Just
this?
one.
Go
Okay, let me
through.
address Mr.
Go
Lando first
through
because
No,
I've
it.
got
he
a 10
can't. He
minutes,
can't name
No,
and then
one. He
no,
can't name
no.
one.
I'll give you 10. How's that? I'll give you 10, but let me address Lando
Well,
first because I feel like
if
I have
you
to.
had 10, you would have mentioned them
Named
during
one.
Caribbean Heritage Month. You know what Caribbean Heritage Month is? It's
Right,
Caribbeans
listen.
crawling on
Yes,
their knees
yes,
to
yes.
Congress because the Black Americans have a whole
So,
month.
do you
The
see how you
Black
let Lando speak?
Americans have a whole month.
And
Why
that
can't
goes to
we
Claude
have
Anderson's
one?
wedge. That's Claude Anderson's
That's
Right.
wedge right there.
true.
Are you actually gonna let
You
me speak here, or
don't deserve a
are you just
month.
gonna
You
obfuscate
don't deserve
constantly?
a minute. You don't deserve a
Right.
month to talk about
Because I don't
Caribbean
agree with what you're
heritage. You
saying.
don't have a
Or you sound
heritage.
stupid. You're
And
acting
go
like a
do it
petulant
over in the
child and
Caribbean.
immature.
Go do your
Okay?
heritage in the Caribbean.
Behave
Who's
yourself.
stopping you? This
Okay.
is our
Listen, I'm
country.
not even Caribbean.
We can't have our heritage all over in other people's countries. We have our heritage here. Why do you have to be standing up on top of everybody all the time? What is wrong
Are
with
you finished?
you? What's wrong with
Are
you
you
as a
finished?
people? You don't police yourselves. You shouldn't even be in Congress talking about give us our own month. along with the
I've not encountered
Africans.
a
Why
style like that.
the
Are you
hell
done?
would
it's
an African
diametric
immigrant?
opposition.
What the hell would an
Are
African
you?
immigrant need a whole
It's
month to
Wani.
celebrate
It's
African immigrants
Wani. I
for?
love this. This
Can
is
I speak now?
diametric opposite. He can't control himself. I don't. I'm not a mute monster, but
Well,
you
he
can't control
hasn't
himself.
said anything.
No, he hadn't given us one. It's diametric opposition. And you know what? I got the number. The number that we're dealing with is they're copying off of white supremacists. This the same shit.
Right. Okay. If I'm Professor, if I may now, thank you. Now, listen. Yes, there are people who subvert
No, no,
the
no.
causes
I didn't say you could,
and the
sir.
wishes
I'm sorry.
of.
I didn't say you said Mother May I, and I didn't say shit. Because I'm still waiting on one contribution. Just one.
There are many contributions, and you
Just
know
give me
that.
one.
Okay.
One.
But anyway, listen. I'm not going to play this game
No,
of
I'm
yours.
not playing a
I'm
game.
Oh
here
I'm asking a
basically
God.
to
direct
address what
question. Give
Lando
me a
was saying.
contribution.
Okay.
And
Now listen.
this question is based off of your assertion that Wani was not telling the truth. So give me one contribution. I don't want many. I don't
There's
want
been
10. I want
political
one.
contributions, numerous political support that Africans and Caribbeans have
Oh,
given
No,
you
to
no,
live
no, no,
Black
no.
here.
Numerous.
Americans
And
over
I
the
see
years.
you using these words. I said
You
one.
live
African
here. You're
Caribbeans
not.
who are born
Let
in
me
America,
correct you. You
who have
live.
been part of the Black.
Your your ass lives here. You're not doing us a favor to save your own ass. You
Hello.
idiot. You live here.
Are you going to call me an
Where do
idiot now?
you
Because you actually can
live?
have
Where do
a
you
civil,
live?
Yes, you are. Ian.
Where do you
constructive
live?
discussion.
You ain't doing us a
Okay,
Sounds
favor.
Lando, I want
British.
to address you because
Sounds like a
obviously,
British accent.
well, yes, it does. Yeah, I want to address you, Lando, because obviously, I mean, this is just a circular argument, and we're not going anywhere with this. So if we're going to have a civil
You
discussion,
haven't
you'd have to
No,
brought
act like one,
sir.
and
anything
not
to the
threaten me.
UK.
That's not true.
You haven't
He
brought anything
lying.
to the
He's
UK.
lying.
You
This is not a
sipty.
circular
Right
argument.
now, like I
You
was saying,
This is
sipty.
a
you
linear
come,
question. Hold on. He
you
talking
come,
to a
you
master of
why don't
logic.
hold on,
This is a
then
linear question, sir.
control yourself,
It's a linear
show some
question that
discipline and
you're
restraint.
doing circles around.
You keep on muting
I
me, and you
asked you
don't
to
want to have a
name one. I'm
conversation.
muting you because you out of control. And like a child, you need to be controlled.
No one came to
Um,
talk. No one
I
wants
asked you a
to.
linear question, very simple, not condescending, to name one contribution, not many, not various, just one. I'm waiting on it, just one.
Oh, for I forgot.
Contribution in what?
This is a Brit.
Contribution in
What
what?
have you?
What contribution?
What
Hey,
All
you
you
know
can
what?
do is
I'm gonna let
political.
you choose one
What sort of
contribution
contribution?
that you.
Contribution to what? From who?
So, who are your people? Where are you from?
I'm from Africa,
Where?
South Africa.
Okay, one contribution that South Africa has given to foundational Black Americans. Go.
There's various contributions. I
I
mean,
didn't say
South.
very, sir.
Hold on,
You're not
Oh
cooperating. I said
my
hold
one.
on. These
God!
people,
It's
hold on.
nothing.
These people live amongst you, so obviously there's numerous.
So
Oh
it's
my
not one.
God!
I
You
cannot
have
speak to anecdotal
nothing.
contributions or
Nothing.
And don't say Nelson Mandela because he followed our
He
okay.
model.
created Nelson
I cannot
Mandela.
speak to individual
Facts.
contributions because I don't know. But I'm sure there's various
You
contributions.
don't
Those
know
people live
because they
There's
amongst
don't
you,
exist, sir, which
right?
is
nothing.
our point.
Okay.
You're
Anyway,
pathetic.
Lando, like I was saying, you come
Why
over here,
did he run
you
up
spend
here to?
20 minutes trashing your people. I'm
You're
assuming
not.
you're Jamaican, right?
You're not our people, and
You
you
Not at
say
all.
nothing.
know.
You say nothing. You
One of
say
the
nothing positive
my
about
least
your
You're one
favorite
of
people.
thing is
our
to hear a
All
people.
you
grown man
do,
whine.
all you do is come here and trash your people. You're talking about how Jamaicans
He's
did not
not
have any Black
trashing.
liberation movement
Not trashing people.
when there's been various Black liberation movements in Jamaica, right? Okay.
Sir, we already
You come
mentioned
here
the
and you
hate
completely
groups.
generalize and blanket statement all of your people. And notice how you, like a sniveling coward, right at the end, you said,
But you're
"Oh,
not.
my mom and dad, they're good Jamaicans. Your mom and dad are good
I've
Jamaicans,
almost
but
had it
all
with
the
this
other
dude. He's not
Jamaicans are
cooperating.
trash." Right? Right?
Look,
You should be ashamed of yourself.
you.
Have a nice day,
First of
sir.
Well,
all,
wait a minute,
first, okay, go ahead.
Uh,
Mister.
up here talking about
Wow,
black pride with an English accent.
it's just a lot.
It's that's too much to unpack.
He tried to come at
You
the
are
bear.
ashamed of yourself. You are ashamed of your heritage.
Wait,
Um,
I'm
so
very
to
confused.
that, first of all, in that very context, I spoke about my parents not specifically speaking on Black Americans, and that wasn't something that came up. Now, if you want to get into their personal misdeeds and deeds, Well, we're not here for that, but we can definitely have that conversation, and I'm not ashamed of speaking about that. That's the difference between you and I, and what I realize about a lot of the black or the Jamaicans or other Caribbeans. Heard some of the non FBA Africans even call up to Tariq spaces and correct other tethers and tether Africans that are trying to act all holier than thou, that their culture is so great. They have all this shit going on. It's great and great and great. And Tariq is like, oh, then why are you guys fleeing? And then the other Africans will call up and say, yeah, that guy's full of shit. There's all these issues that are having. We're dealing with these problems. Tariq, you're absolutely right. Because everybody has the internet, bro. Okay, so there's no need to lie about this shit. Okay, I don't have to make shit up. I don't have to trash anybody. There is a movement online on YouTube right now. They follow this vlogger named Sir P. He's like an anonymous guy, ex military, ex police, and he's exposing all the corruption that's in the police force, in the government, amongst in the culture. He constantly is speaking and berating Jamaicans about their acceptance of the dance hall degenerate culture, their glorifying of crime and murder and all of this kind of stuff. So I'm not the only one. There are people that are literally sitting there and saying they're sick of this shit. If you go on any of the Jamaican blogs right now, the problem that you'll see, and I see this daily, is that they'll get up there, Jamaican people sitting there, oh, nowhere is nice like Jamaica. Jamaica's the best place on earth. But in response to all these Trump orders for deportation and deporting illegals, and they're all crying in the comments, copying pleas, talking about why are they going to try to separate families? And they know they're there illegally. They're defending illegals, people that flew to Mexico and hopped the border and all that bullshit. So they're full of shit. Okay. So I'm not full of shit. Okay. I can sit there and see that while yeah, Jamaica's a great place. If we could get rid of the crime, Jamaica would skyrocket. But also, there is an underlying culture of worshiping whites. Okay, that's how come whites own all of the resorts. That's how come Asians also own. They're buying up all of the resources and stuff like that. So, and buying all the wholesales, they're selling out the land. The problem with Jamaica, beyond the crime, is that people are more willing to sell the rights to the stuff they have, the assets they have. And like Wani says, instead of building, they're not building shit. Okay, they would rather quickly sell it and make a quick buck, right, rather than fucking putting in the hard work of developing and growing the thing into something generational to pass down. Everything is being sold off, and that's not just the people, the government are doing it too. All right, and I can speak on that from a
Well, we're
personal
gonna move
standpoint.
on.
I've
I
seen that
appreciate your
firsthand.
contribution. We're gonna move
Anyway,
on to other speakers, but just to sum up what you're saying, what we're looking at, you're helping us to understand what we're looking at, and what we're looking at through my view is a system of white supremacy went through the world, busting up people's self esteem, busting up their culture, and busting up their family structure, and a lot of groups have just said, if I can't beat them, join them, except for us, except for the Russians, and except for the Haitians early on before the mulatto class sold them out. So we're very rare. We're a very rare club of people who say, "Fuck you, keep hitting me. I don't care. We gonna. I'm gonna get stronger. I'm gonna get stronger." Where most people just said, "You know
facts.
what? I'm gonna amalgamate," which is a big mistake. Magus, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I just wanted to say to touch on this topic is as far as what makes us unique. Somebody kind of touched on it before. I believe it was yeah, was it Lando? I think it was Lando talking about the Olympics and how there were non FBA so desperate to get any type of win over us. It doesn't even have to be their country. It could be
Yes.
another country. At least that would be like us feeling having such a scarcity mindset, such a loser mentality that we would imagine if FBA said, okay, this person of Caribbean or West African descent who's in Great Britain, they just won the gold for this 100-meter dash or such and such. And we're just like, yeah, we lost, but Hell, at least it was somebody from the Western Hemisphere, or if some Jamaican or whatever one, we're just like, well, it was at least it was somebody from the Americas. Like we don't need to do that. We don't need to reach and do that type of stuff though, because we're used to finding a way to get wins, and we take those with the losses. People who are like desperate got to do that type of stuff. And if they would just be honest and grateful, there wouldn't be a need for me to even get on them about anything. Just be honest and admit that your way isn't working. Your way is the defeatist mindset of, oh, we're just going to submit to these people because we keep being disadvantaged by these people. So we're just going to give in. Black America is unique, even though they don't want to admit it, because we will keep fighting anyways. Though you don't stop fighting just because you know you're down a little bit. How you ever gonna be up if you just submit? And we're the one group that's never had to like kick another group, so that the white supremacists don't kick us, because cowards do that. So I land my plane.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. The dynamics of the whole thing. What you're looking at with what respect to you said earlier is a lot of shame. Now it depends on the groups, but what we see from what we've identified from West Africans, according to Dr. Snyder's book, or should I say, the Dr. Snyder book, the husband and wife wrote it, is that there was a lot of complicity in West Africa with the slave trade. If you look at the picture I have in the Jumbotron and you look at me standing at Elmina Castle, you look around me in every direction, you see houses and shit, neighborhoods. Why didn't these neighborhoods rise up to break us out of that castle? Well, because they were probably getting a cut. They were either scared or getting a cut of the paycheck, which both are unacceptable. So when they're faced to look at us, at our position of success in this on the world stage for shit the last 400 years, like Rutger Kipling said, my head is bloody but unbowed, right? Seeing us stand tall, it's a lot of shame there, and there's a lot of guilt. There's shame that why couldn't I do this? You know what I'm saying? In West Africa, there's guilt because they know they were complicit in selling us, and they have to look at us reigning supreme. We were not supposed to be here. We were not supposed to survive. Ladies and gentlemen, the American experiment was designed for us to be sacrificial. We were supposed to build this motherfucker and then die off. And then the quote unquote white class was supposed to slip into our position with a whole new exploitive class and facilitate these positions without us being here. But we did not go anywhere. Matter of fact, we said, give me that shit, and took some of them positions back. And all they can do is gaslight and spread narratives that we're some type of peasant class that, like our sister Wani pointed out, we have never been and never will be. Deoda, what's on your mind? Oh, I'm sorry, Deoda. Basir. I don't have my glasses on, y'all. Basir and then Deoda.
Peace, everybody. Peace to the stage. While everybody was talking, a couple quotes just popped in my head. I think one was from Dr. King. The Negro is not verbatim, but the Negro is in exile in his own land. Another one comes to mind. I think it was Malcolm X. Um, Plymouth Rock. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. And to speak to the point of the bill today and how we have such a very unique experience, a lot of questions come to mind, especially as it relates to the diaspora model. I find it interesting how we don't see quote unquote Black American culture repeated anywhere else on the planet. And it's almost to the point where Black American culture is literally a global religion, right? So all other Black groups emulate us in such a way. So I absolutely agree that we have a very unique experience as it relates to, cultural influence. And somebody mentioned earlier, I'm not sure, they mentioned like a Spanish term by someone in Mexico about indios. And I want to tie this to the concept of FBA and how it's a grand step honestly in breaking the diaspora model, because what I've been hearing a lot, maybe some passionate discourse is related to how we are so special. We're the leaders, we're the vanguards of resistance. And again, this question keeps coming up: why is it nowhere else? Or if we do see resistances, they're not as sustained as the Black Americans. And I think there's something special about the rise of, ADOS, even if you disagree with the political affiliations or who started it, FBA. I think we're moving into a space where we're going to eventually break the diaspora model and understand that the land we're on is ours. And to speak to the concept of um, wherever colonization went, they kind of subverted the indigenous groups that were there. And that leads me to my major point in how wherever you go on the planet, wherever there are melanated people, those people are indigenous. So this leads me to the idea, um, the major talking points is reparations, um, reparative relief for Black Americans, and I think there could be a major case um, for the success of reparations when we understand that reparations is exclusively paid out to nations. So I'll land by saying I think the solution to a lot of the issues that we deal with, especially as it relates to what people call like tethers and things like that, is we need to get into a position where we have a nationalist mentality. And again, this is not a new perspective, but like moving under the political umbrella of a nationalist mentality and formalizing that under a nation. And the last thing I'll say is there are only two types of government on the American soil. That's the United States of America and indigenous tribal governments. Now, I know when we hear indigenous and tribal, we're thinking of like stringy haired natives with feathers in their hair. And I want to hope that we kind of temporarily suspend that imagery in our mind, because it's often that when we hear Indian or native or original people, we have like images that pop into our head. And I think the major reason why we've had so much global influence is because we have not been detached from our culture. And to the young lady's point from earlier, we never fled, we never left. And yes, there are like repatriation movements, things like that. I don't think that leads to the solution. The solution is to adopt and maintain this cultural cohort, so to speak, that we've been living in, and just putting some political teeth on it by placing ourselves within a government structure. So I'll land there.
We can't be repatriated. That's not a thing. We can't be repatriated. We're already where our ethnicity was created.
We're already home. Wow,
Yeah.
that's where. There it is. Oh, so powerful. I'm so pleased with this. That's it. That now y'all see. Now you can see why all these smoke screens and attacks are coming and focused upon the Black American, wherein they're not focused on anybody else. Why are they focused on us? Because we're home. We're right where we need to be. Only thing that's out of touch with us is our fucking mind. We need to realize that we're home.
I just wanted to say before we move to the next speaker, it's one thing to say that, yes, we do fight back and we're the only group that does. But it's another thing to say that while we're trying to fight back, we have Caribbeans and Africans fighting against us in our own country. And that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, I can show you newscaster after newscaster after newscaster after newscaster that said, oh, no, we don't need reparations. Thank you. Have a
Stephen A.
nice
Smith.
day.
I
Oh, we
think you're
don't need
over
reparations.
exaggerating here. To be fair,
Huh?
one thing.
Hey,
I think
Resco, why are you talking?
What?
I think
What
you're
did
over
he say?
exaggerating here.
Can you
But
control? Do I have to kick you off the stage again? Can
Hold
you
on.
control yourself?
Wait a
not
minute.
that.
I
Come
just
on.
want to finish this one thing. There were at least 13 Caribbeans that were on the news that had hidden backgrounds. We didn't know where they came from because we weren't pulling paperwork. And they were saying that we didn't deserve reparations. Then there was another tier that said that, oh no, they can't prove that they were enslaved. Yes, the hell we can. We're not on the in the Caribbean in Africa where you don't have any records and you just don't have writing skills. I don't know what your problems are, but you don't have them. Okay.
Actually, the Caribbeans and Africans, they're seeking reparations through their own means.
Resco, you're out of
Caribbeans to
line,
carry
bro.
common Africans through the African
Well,
means.
look,
Default
this is
emotional
not
intelligence
Africa
prophecy.
at your kitchen table where everybody's grabbing at a goat head.
So
Control
stop, stop,
yourself.
stop, stop dishing out misinformation then, because of
Okay.
course,
What did I say that was incorrect again?
Have some decorum for our
listen,
sister. Have some emotional
there are
intelligence. Have
people,
some respect.
there are people who, if people are
Can you,
subverting the causes and the wishes of Black Americans in terms of
where
their
are they?
seeking
Where are
for
they?
reparation, then they need to
Where
be
are
called out,
they?
right?
Where are the,
Listen,
no,
they're
no, 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 no,
degenerate,
no, no, no. No,
they're
no, no,
degenerate to
no.
indulge in.
Apparently, you have more people that feel that way. You know how I know you have more people that feel that way? When people from your government say it. That's how I know that it is a collective thought. And you're not going to play that
No, it's not a
white
collective
people's
thought, and you
game
know,
where you
and you know,
say, oh, we're not all doing it. I don't care how many people are doing it. I
so that's
care
a
about a
goddamn line, you know.
collective. It only takes one person to kill me, and I'm not going to ignore you. I'm not going to take the position that you're just the ignorant little baby sister that's biting at the big sister's ankles and we just need to, we're all family and we need to get along. No, you
No,
are
don't say it's
becoming a
everyone then, because
problem.
that's disingenuous.
You are a problem.
If you say
And
it's
as
everyone,
long
then it's disingenuous, all right? And this is how then you lose support. All I'm saying is that you've got
you
degenerates
don't
in
support,
every,
We don't
let
need
me,
your
right?
support.
hang on,
We don't
lose
need
support
support
from
from a
who?
coward.
And if these
Lo-
people are doing
You
that,
be
they
our
want them
support.
to be
We do
called
not
out.
need
Yes,
your
you've got.
support.
Lose
Listen, yes,
support
you've
from
got.
who? You don't have any way to support. It's like lose support from who? You're nothing. You're asking us for support. You're over here trying to get
Exactly.
in the Congressional Black Caucus to get support for your
Facts.
I'm
raggedy
not asking
little
you for support.
island.
I'm not asking you
What?
for support. I don't know what you're
It
talking
don't
about. I'm
matter if
not
you
asking
ask
You
you.
for it or
already
not, but
you already did. You already did, babe. Did you forget something in South Africa? Who was running around protesting the United States government and making them petition to get rid of apartheid, making them sanction businesses and countries that supported apartheid? Who had on all the Nelson Mandela t shirts? We made Nelson Mandela. Are you kidding me? We created the man. You were running around talking about Nelson Mandela died in the 80s
Yeah,
because you had the Mandela effect when
I
we thought he was alive.
this is all true. I hate using the mute. Y'all know I don't use that much, but the gentleman's having a hard time controlling himself. And I want to point out that I asked him earlier in dialogue to give us at least one example from South Africa of an invention or ideology, music, work of art, anything that dramatically influenced, positively influenced foundational Black Americans, and he can't
Well,
do it.
well, you know what they did do?
Wow.
They used their UN seat to advocate for Arabs.
Ooh.
And they never used it to advocate for Black Americans in the whole time that they had the UN seat and
Wow.
had the power. And we're the only ones that made you not have apartheid. You never got on your uh, UN seat and said, hey, what about all this police brutality? Why are Black Americans being subjected to this type of racial abuse? You never spoke up for us, and we spoke up for you as a minority with no voice. We made a voice to speak up for
Right.
you. All so that some floppy haired, Raggedy Ann looking fool can come up in here today and talk shit to me from the UK and argue about what Caribbeans did or didn't do
From the UK.
from the UK safely in the
Are
UK
you going to
where
keep on
no
using that mute button, or are you
well
actually
so
going to let me respond?
button. What's a button?
Well, I button. I muted you because you keep talking over people and you haven't answered my question, sir. I'm a pretty fair and impartial
You're
person.
resorting to instant.
This is why I'm muting you again.
There you go,
I'm waiting
muting
on you to.
again. There you go, using that
I'm
mute.
gonna mute you one more
Okay,
time.
let's let this other
You're a
person
grown man using the mute button. Control
First of
yourself.
all, let's let Tyrell
Okay.
speak because he has had his hand up and he's been patient and we've been trying to let the problematic people express themselves because I really want to hear. I literally want to be proven wrong
Me too.
today.
Me too.
Make me look like a fool, okay?
Same here.
Like that time when the African guy said, well, at least we know what a woman is. And I said, you know what? You got me. My country, in
Go
fact, does not know what a woman is. So you got me on that point. Make me look dumb. Go ahead.
ahead, Tyrell.
It's close. It's hey Professor, hey Ronnie. Thank y'all for allowing me to speak today. Peace and power to everybody in the room. Um, and this is dealing with the topic. I'm gonna address the topic first, which is Black American, the Black American experience unique? And my answer to that is yes. What is the African identity? And like somebody says, like one of the speakers said earlier, I want to say it was Fire Nagy. He made it very perfectly clear that they do not have an identity. Um, and to add on to that is my research in history, and I used to think otherwise, but my research in history from the time I was 14 um, has proven to me that these people not only despise us, but they envy us. And envy in the sense that the definition of envy is not only do they want to be us and be where we are, they think we should suffer because of who we are, we have achieved as a people. Something that no other group of people has achieved um, in history, documented history. And I'll park my car with that.
Yeah, and that's not a point of one interesting thing about foundational Black Americans, and I'm not going to take credit to say we're so altruistic. I've been wondering lately, has being under the rulership of insane people, of the mentally defective from the Georgia Corporation, has that fucked with our self esteem? But what am I positing? I'm positing that we're not arrogant. There's no arrogance because I think there's a self esteem damage there. Um, I did a little comparison with the black fellows, the indigenous black or African. Aboriginal is a word, but when you break down Aboriginal, is very disrespectful. To abhor means to hate, to absolutely hate, and original means the original. So the English call the brown people of Australia the abhor original. I hate the original. They're telling you what's on their mind. But when you look at the Aboriginal people of Australia, I think Wani called them the black fellows. Their self-esteem is damaged. So the Venn diagram hits my mind of what do we have in common. What Australia and the United States have in common is we got that damn Georgia corporation bullshit full of lunatics cutting off heads, kicking the heads off babies and shit, cutting our men's private parts off and betting money on who bleeds to death the first. That's insane shit. That shit damages you. So we're not arrogant. You know what I'm saying? We've been forced to be the best at everything. We've had no choice. And now that we're in a position where being the best for as a function of survival is like benefiting us in the whole on the world stage, everybody could see us. It's a lot of vitriol heading a whole bunch of different ways, which is very dangerous. Because if we look back at 1804 in Haiti, when they beat the shit out the French, they almost had absolute power over their destiny. But that coon class came into well, excuse that word, that what Jacob Carruthers calls the mulatto class came in to get them. I want to read some quick from Jacob Carruthers, The Irritated Genie. This article is called "The Assassination of Dessalines in the Civil War." So Dessalines was one of the leaders that was manifested through spirit. What I mean by that is the elders of the village prayed for leadership, and out the blue came Toussaint Louverture and Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Hopefully, I'm saying it right. French is so pretty. But anyway, the language. That's just the language way it sounds. Well, anyway, according to Dr. Carruthers, blacks generally attribute the assassination of Dessalines to mulattoes. Hello. Quote, while mulattoes generally point out that the conspirators consisted of both blacks and mulattoes, the Northeast position calls a plot an act of treachery on part of mulattoes to establish mulatto rule. So we need to beware of these little elite classes that sit in these black looking people who lay in the cut, waiting on an opportunity to sell us in. You know what I'm saying? Keep in mind what Dr. Claude Anderson said about a wedge. Wedges just don't just exist offshore. We have wedges within our community who go to colleges and get in little groups and think they better than folks. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyway, let's see what. Hopefully, I'm not skipping anybody. I don't know where I placed my glasses. I think it's this is Ola. What's that say? Ata. How you pronounce your name, bro?
Ata Olaolu Adejo. It's okay. It's all good.
What you said?
Um,
What's on your mind?
um yeah, I just came off his space and similar things were said, and I I just want to say I think I was listening to a back and forth between someone who I think is South African and one of the co-hosts. Sorry, the co-host rather. And what I would like to say is the problem many Africans have is we struggle with being in other people's shoes. It's not a uniquely African weakness, it's a human um, deficit, but it seems it's quite strong with Africans. So you have a South African, let me assume he's South African. I mean, the guy who was having the back and forth with your
I'm here,
co
brother.
host.
You can address me.
Okay, yeah.
Let's
So
watch the disruption. Let Ata talk.
thank you, Prof. So you have Nigeria with a massive population. I'm Nigerian, by the way, and many of them are poor. So, because of the massive population and the country generally being a mess, many Nigerians are rushing out of the country and they go to places like South Africa. And many of them, I would admit, are violent criminals. So, the South Africans get irritated and some of them get violent with these Nigerians and Somalis and Congolese and Zimbabweans. But the vast majority of South Africans, black South Africans, the majority seem to be towing the line of FBAs. They want the country to be for them. They want a cap on migration. They want more, less violent criminals. And it is right. So the contradiction is here is the South African trying to attack what FBAs or Black Americans or ADOS are standing for. Meanwhile, in his own
Can I,
country,
brother? Can you
sorry,
tell me?
sorry,
Hold
Can
on,
you
hold on, hold on.
relax?
no, no, hold
You
on.
cannot just make
Relax.
an
Control
accusation like
yourself,
that
please.
without backing
Control
it up
yourself.
with facts.
You'll get your turn.
Can you state one thing I've said to attack
Please control
You
yourself.
said
Control
Black
yourself.
everything
Americans? No,
that
no,
I
but
said
you
was
accuse me.
wrong, and then
So
you said
if you're going
everything.
to make an accusation, yeah, then be prepared to back it up with facts.
You
Control
just,
Tell me
yourself,
how I
please.
attacked
oh my goodness.
the Black Americans. Go.
You said that what I
Mute
had
So,
him.
described
Let
was
the brother rap.
incorrect.
Mute
No,
him and
no,
let
he's
the
a
brother
grown
rap.
man. He can answer for himself. He came here, big balls and all that, thinking maybe he's got one over me. So what is it that I've said?
No, mute you.
So
can you control
Mute you.
yourself?
Mute
let's
Well,
him.
let
hold
the
on.
And
let
let
Otto
Atu
speak.
rap.
Yeah, let him speak, and
Explain
then
what
you
I've
talk.
said. Explain what I've said,
Sir, I am
which
about
to
to do
you seems like an
something.
attack on Black Americans.
I'm gonna
Go.
do something really bad.
Okay, please control yourself. I beg you. Now, you have. So, what? Let me assume you. Let me not be too
Don't
presumptive, but let me
assume.
assume
You said
what
I
most.
did it.
Just chill.
Okay.
Keep
So say it.
quiet.
I I
What
can
many of your compatriots in your
No, no,
country
no, 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 no. No, no,
want
we're not
for?
going to do that here, brother.
hold
What?
on.
Just let
Hold
me
We're
on.
not going
land.
to do
Stop
that.
interrupting.
Okay, I'll say it then. Everything that I listed that was done against Black Americans came up and said that that was false. And then when asked which part was false, he would not answer. So you were attacking. You said everything that I said was false. And in fact, everything I said was correct. And I don't know why you're, screaming after every sentence this man says. Let the man say what he has to say.
I didn't say everything that you said was false, Wani.
So, so when, so we have a group of people who are violently, in many cases, and I, to be frank, to some extent, I don't blame them, because if you have people selling drugs, taking advantage of your females, you should get angry. But the violent parts, I don't really know. But you have a group of people who, many of them, not all, not even most, many of them are going against their fellow Africans, whether they are Congolese, whether they are Zimbabweans, whether they are Nigerians, whether they are Somalis. But they don't even want Black Americans to even form a legitimately like a legitimate group. I don't understand the contradictions and the hypocrisy. So it's okay in your country, but to these people who are peacefully assembling and delineating, it's a problem. And it goes to my own people too, Nigerians. We once ejected Ghanaians, I think in 1984. We literally threw them out, put them on boats, and they were gone. And many of the, like, it's going to be really tough for a non-Nigerian politician if they trace your lineage and they discover you're non-Nigerian. It might cost you an election or even an appointment. Might, that's the key word. But these same Nigerians, many Nigerians, would not accord or understand why FBAs or ADOS or Black Americans want to have their own identity. And I cannot understand these double standards and contradiction. These guys are not even violent. All they are saying is, we deserve to have an identity. If you are not a descendant of um, slaves, you are not part of us. They are not even violent. They are not even violent the way people tend to be in parts of the world when it comes to identity. They've been without the 1965 immigration bill. I was having this back and forth with a Ghanaian, and he was so aggressive on a Twitter space like 3 days ago. He kept on saying that bill has nothing to do with migration from the third world, from the non-white world. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do. I now brought the evidence and put on the jumbotron. I tagged him. He refused to reply since then. In fact, some of the massive beneficiaries were Indians, Vietnamese, people from South America, people from North Africa, people from Middle East. It's essentially opened the door for all kinds of people into the US, including Africans. But I don't see the gratitude. No matter what you feel about them, no matter what
But this, but
you
brother,
have in your
listen,
mind.
let's listen. This is the issue here, is that you're making generalizations and
And we're
Exhibit A.
going to keep on
Hold on,
doing,
you allowed me to speak.
no, we're going to continue to make generalizations because we're
Li-
speaking about the collective, not
Okay,
you in general. Who do you think you are?
but
We're
this is what
talking
you're
about the
doing.
collective.
If
This
you
is
want
what
to
we
have this,
do with the European when they're out of pocket, and we're going to
when
continue.
somebody says something,
We know
come on,
not
you cut
every
me off, gold
European is
girl. Come
naughty.
on.
We know
When
not
somebody
every
says
European
something,
is naughty, but we're speaking about
if
the
you want to have an
collective.
echo chamber, by all means have an echo chamber. But just because he's come here and he's saying something that you agree with,
Why do you
then
need
you give him
to
the space
why do
and
you
time
need to be
to have
why do
that
you need to
discussion.
disrupt the echo
Now,
chamber if what
Yeah,
no, I'm not.
someone's
yeah,
saying is
yeah. Like
correct?
I'm trying to
That
give
okay?
him. I'm trying to give this gentleman grace. Look, Resco, I'm trying to give you grace, man, but I'm getting sick of it. You're let me the smallest one, baby. Let me like you're disrupting. So Resco, you can
No,
have
I'm
your
not
opinion.
disrupting it. I'm not disrupting.
I love it. But
We're
check
having a
this out.
conversation
Resco,
here.
I'm gonna ask you
Come
one more time
on.
to wait on other people to finish, sir.
But
That's my last time asking you.
Okay.
the only issue that I have with Mr. Resco's opinion is that he's not giving an opinion. He's just saying that what we're saying is
So that's because
wrong
you
and we're
keep on
making
muting me and not letting me talk.
generalizations.
If you
We're
actually let me talk
I'm
like
letting you
you're
know.
letting everyone else talk, if
I'm
you
letting you
actually
know.
showed some restraint and
Okay.
control and
I'm
discipline
letting you
and let
know
me
what's going to happen in the future. We're
I warned
going
him.
to
I
make
can't handle it no more. Warned him.
we're going to make generalizations just like we do with the European descendants. You're not going to tell us how to talk because you can't win the argument without saying it doesn't have to be every single white person if you want to complain about mob violence from the KKK. It doesn't have to be every single African on the planet. If you want to complain about Africans coming to this country and advocating to get rid of Black History Month, it just needs to be enough. Okay, so let's continue.
Okay, I have a question, and the question is, I understand the animosity, I understand the pushback, I understand the frustration and the disappointment, betrayal many of you feel towards Africans to a large extent. Not all, but many. Do you think, boy, I also want to be realistic. Do you think you can push for, remember that you are in a country, but you are not the majority and you are not like the dominant group. So, this is me being realistic. Regardless of what you think of these African countries, don't you think you should strive to have some kind of partnership?
No, not at
Because
all.
though many of our
You
countries
don't
are
have
involved.
anything to offer.
Okay, let me explain
Why
why.
would we partner with you? You're a bunch of rip-off artists. There's a woman on videos right now complaining about buying land in Nigeria and having it ripped the hell off. Absolutely not. I would never partner with criminals. What's the next question?
No,
No, no. Again, a thousand
let me why
times
let
no.
me tell you
You
when I say
you you
partnership.
you have an opportunity right now. Every African country has an opportunity to do right by Black Americans. They all had it. They have UN seats. They never use them. It's too late now. Stick them up your
Wani,
butts.
Wani, check this out. Check this out. Tomorrow, Ghana and any country that wants to show love to Black Americans could offer us free dual citizenship.
No,
How
hold
about
on.
this? Just show up to the consulate, give us your driver's license, prove you're a Black American, and we will give you a passport. We will give you a Ghanaian dual citizenship. We'll give you a green passport free
That's
of
not a
charge.
benefit, though.
And we
Here's
will
the
That would
protect
make
deal.
them.
you.
That would make them money
What?
because we would go over there and buy
Here's
stuff, right?
They
here's
have to
the
protect us
deal.
too, though.
Every time they offer some sort of citizenship, it's a ripoff to try to get us to
Yep.
do something over there. It's just a tourist trap. Everything they do is a tourist trap, and they think people are
The
stupid.
year of
And
return.
people are stupid, so they're right. Okay? People are stupid, and the people are over there right now babbling and crying about being pulled over by the police. So if Nigerians complain about SARS, which just pulls you over and shoots you in the forehead, and that's where they're going to go to get rid of police brutality. You prefer to be shot in the forehead by a Nigerian versus possibly being pulled over by a nasty Caucasian cop.
Man,
That's
but man, we was on a fucking bus in the middle of nowhere near Togo, and we passed by a military checkpoint. They don't have police over there. They have fucking military checkpoint. Dudes with camouflage I ain't never seen before, with AKs and shit. Like Wani said, you disappear over there. Like it's no, ooh, that officer was racist. It wasn't none of that shit. It's you disappear for your wife and your Rolex watch because he wanted to have relations with your wife, then kill her and take your Rolex. There's
so
no comparison.
so having a country behind you like Nigeria is not having a country. And I'm going to tell you why. You don't have a country.
Right.
Because when you were in Ukraine and bombs were dropping on your head, Black Americans had left 2 weeks before because our country that we have, that you want to pretend like we don't have, made sure that every American citizen over there in that region got out of there before any violence. They had the intelligence to let them know that bombs were going to fall, and they got everybody out of there. And there was one black guy that said, "Nope, I'm going to stay over here and play basketball." And then he started squealing like a fool trying to get out, and he did get out. But the Nigerians were over there crying. All of a sudden, they became black. You gotta help the black people. You stop being Nigerian students. Oh, well, we're Nigerian students over here. You know, all blustery and finger wagging. And then as soon as that bomb dropped, they're not letting black people get on the subway. Oh my God. Yeah, you
They put
suddenly
all the
became
black
black.
people in the back.
Back? They wouldn't
The
let them
dog,
get on. Where
the
did it?
dog.
Did
They
they
was letting
finally
their
get
dogs
on?
get on. They was letting their dogs get on before the
Right.
Nigerians.
So you don't have a country for us to align with. It doesn't exist. You have to prove to me that you actually have a country. Just like people from the Cameroon were told, Or is it Cameroon or the Cameroon? I can't tell. They keep taking the thes off of these things. The Ukraine is now Ukraine.
The Gambia.
Yeah, the Gambia now. It may be Gambia later. I don't know what they're doing. Anyway, Cameroon advised its citizens getting bombs dropped on their heads to hide in the bush. That was an official statement. An official statement on the news that was captured. Hide in the bush. This is not a jungle,
That's
okay? These
ridiculous.
people are just seriously, we're talking about second grade mentalities here. So why would we, Ata, have anything to do with you guys? It's like if I'm forming a basketball team and I align myself with a bunch of midgets. Why would I do that?
Okay, let me tell you
Okay.
why. Before the South African was kicked out, you made mention of, I think you said his country, and you were right. His country has gone 100% for Palestine. They even took Israel to the ICC, International Criminal Court. Now, there's strength in numbers, even if the
No,
numbers are
it's
of
not.
useless
No,
countries.
it's not
And I agree
strength in
with you.
numbers because you have numbers and no strength. You ask us to help you.
In terms of,
You
for instance,
ask us to help you with SARS. You've asked us to give you charity, and we did into the billions. You've asked us to help you get your girls from Boko Haram. You don't have any strength. Africa has 1.3 billion people, and they constantly try to tell us to be aligned with them. Why not align with the 1.3 billion and leave the 40 million to mind their own business? Your strength in numbers argument doesn't work if the numbers are losers and backstabbers. We don't know which way you're going to swing, but you usually swing against us.
because they have no code of conduct.
How many
None.
how many Olympic
It's like our
medals have
it's
they
like our
win?
brother. It's our brother Tariq.
Facts.
Our brother Tariq said the other day, there's a lack of trust there. They don't trust each other. They used to scamming each other, and they come over here with this scammy behavior. And you could have somebody with the absolute best intentions in mind, but as a Black American looking back at historical precedent, I can't trust it because I'm waiting to get scammed.
And that's why their economies don't work, Professor,
Don't
because
blame
I'm
you.
sorry about that.
Don't
trust is
blame
a
you at all.
hallmark
Uh,
of economics.
yeah, Fire Nagy was talking. Could you hear him, Lando?
No,
Yeah, sorry about that.
all I said was that that's why their economies don't work because
Right.
trust is a foundation of economics, and so if Africans don't trust each other, no one's going to ever want to do trade with you. You won't do trade with each other, and so I mean, Wani's making 100% points. Like you guys don't even beat you don't even out medal us in the Olympics. This little bitty ethnic group in North America gets like what 100% more medals every Olympics than you do. I mean, like our economy is even bigger than yours. Our small numbers, we're what 2.5, $3 trillion economy. How big is the combined economy of the entire continent of Africa? I mean, that means
We
that
And
means
have
we
we're
more
got
so
gold
no
much
type
more
of
medals.
debt.
productive than you
We
are.
have more gold medals in the whole continent of Africa for sure. Way more. I
And we
looked
not
it
in
up.
no major debt.
I looked it up. I'm that petty.
I'd I'd say to Ata, like in theory, like, sure, strength in numbers would be a nice ideal, but from my limited understanding of Black American history, everything they have, they fought for on their own, and they didn't have any help from anybody else. So, why do they need us now? But if we were to come to them, it would have to be on a united front. Me as an individual Jamaican and you as an individual Nigerian, we ain't gonna be able to do shit. And if they don't wanna accept us as part of their group, or you know what I mean, there's nothing we can do anyways unless we can come together and have unity amongst ourselves in our own respective countries and have a buying staying power. Then there's nothing we can offer them anyways. So she's 100% right in that sense.
Okay, let me quickly let me try to explain what I meant.
Okay.
I didn't mean strength in numbers in terms of
Okay.
population. I meant like look at the way South Africa pushed took Israel to the
Yes.
ICC, pushed for
Yes.
Palestine, which I felt was now imagine 15, granted they are messed up countries, but imagine 15 to 40 countries maybe standing on a bill or putting their votes at the UN or at the
Go
ICC
ahead and do it. Go
for
ahead
a
and do it.
pro
Pay us
black.
reparations for selling slaves instead of using your UNC to scam since 1990 to say that you deserve reparations because you didn't get enough money selling slaves. Why don't you go ahead and do it? You know how to use your UNC to beg for yourselves, and you know how to use your UNC to lie and say, oh, we should get reparations because you stole our people. Well, guess what? I'm still here.
Well, the anger is from the doctrine of unequal exchange. They were so fucking silly when they were selling, so ignorant when they were selling us that they would exchange us out of showing off or whatever. I think it's sheer stupidity. They would exchange us for fucking broken umbrellas and shit. And what was it, Wani?
Broken
Broken
mirrors and
mirrors.
umbrellas and jugs of wine, maybe a
Whiskey.
gun here and there. Just
Wow.
The
And they
Bible.
for
got the
40
shit end of the
people.
stick.
For 40 people a pop. Meanwhile, the white boy goes back over to the new world and sells human beings for approximately $1,000, $800 for some, $1,000 for others, maybe $500 for someone else. I mean, it's ridiculous. Look how much money they made off of dummies. These people are terribly, terribly dumb.
How much money they
Time,
made? They're making money right now off of
they're
Black
making money
Americans.
now.
I mean, it's the foundation of their entire society. So,
They make money off of tourism. They shouldn't get money from us. They make money off of those slave memorials, doors of no return, slave castles. Shouldn't get a dime off of a FBA ever.
And they have never reached out a hand to help us or nothing. They have done nothing. They have done the opposite of nothing. They have had nothing but envy and vitriol towards us.
Exactly.
No
That
cap.
money should go to impoverished Black Americans, not you. Why should you get money for selling slaves and having the remnants of your activities? You've been getting away with a lot. It's like a Nazi touring someone through the Holocaust Museum.
Oh my God, that's so true.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And we just go along with it because we're being told that's you. No, that's like a Jewish person being told, well, you're the same as the Germans. You got all that German DNA, so they're you. You have to make up with them, hold hands with them. Who tells people to do that? Nobody.
An
I mean,
oppressor that doesn't want it to come back on him.
right. If people have a problem like Indians and Pakistanis, they're not being told by the public to hold hands. They have nuclear weapons aimed at each other. If China and Japan don't like each other for whatever their reasons are, they're not being told to go, oh no, you guys have to be together. You force teaming people together. If we don't like how you're acting in our country and you're undermining us, speaking against what we're trying to do and telling us there's no racism, I can't even count the amount of Africans that popped up on TikTok and every other platform talking about skin color is not a barrier to anyone. And then you want to use your same crooked mouth to complain about how you're being treated in this country.
Yeah, according to Doctor
Can I ask?
go ahead.
This is on slightly off topic, but um, I have two questions. The first one is on the scale, what African migrant group irritates you on average the most? Then the second question is to the Jamaican. Do you hold similar sentiments like on the spot? So those are my
What did you
questions. Thank
say
you.
irritates us the most or imitates us the most?
it irritates us.
Irritates the most.
Well, here's the issue. The Nigerian irritates everybody. That's why the passport is banned and blocked and hated. So it's not about me. You are a global disgrace. Even your own president said nobody wants you in their country. Buhari, bring him back. You need Buhari squared. Somebody to tell the truth on you.
The
It's,
truth is the truth is the only way to grow, and I don't mean any harm by saying this. It's just the truth. My concern is my own lineage. I'm concerned with Black Americans, and going back to the whole thing about vitriol. Looking back at Claude Anderson, he talks about the doctrine of equal unequal exchange. Let me put this in context. Where's this vitriol coming towards from Nigerians towards Black Americans is coming in large portion from an elite class who sold us. What am I saying? I'm saying when I spent my a summer in West Africa, I noticed I met riders in the jungles. I met very innocent people who I wanted to help, who we were trying to get scholarships to come to Memphis, but they were like, "Brother, we can't get over there. They won't let us. We don't get visas. We don't get passports." Like the real people in the jungle who are our friends or never make it. Who makes it is the elite class of people whose great great granddaddy sold my black ass into slavery. You understand? And they're mad at me because they got fucked over because they were imbeciles. They had no business sense. According to Dr. Claude Anderson, the self-destructive attitudes of the tribal chiefs stop. Tribal chiefs were the first people to sell us before the Arabs. Don't let nobody bullshit you. It wasn't the Arabs first. It wasn't the white man first. It was tribal chiefs trying to show off to a race of people he did not understand, selling us to him for broken mirrors. Again, the self destructive attitudes of tribal chiefs have yet to be fully explained or understood, but historian Norman Combs offered one explanation as to why chiefs were so willingly traded their valuable resources to European and Arab traders. According to Combs, the African tribal chiefs willingly participated in such questionable trade practices because West African economies were subsistence based, and therefore people were satisfied with the status quo and saw no need to accumulate wealth and power. Dummies. Basically, what that means, ladies and gentlemen, is the West Africans had everything they needed. They were basically just balling out of control. So they bring a fucking somebody from the young Adrias they don't understand, that's hungry as fuck and violent. It's like that movie From. Y'all seen From yet?
I thought it was like a
Yeah, I
series.
watched it before.
Yeah, the series. Yeah, you
Yeah,
know
it's a,
those things
Yeah.
that come
Uh
out
huh.
at night
Yep.
that people let in the house and they just fucking just cut you to pieces.
like
That's
Edom.
yeah, that's what the
Yeah, I've
African
seen it.
tribal chiefs was doing. They saw these from basically showed up to Africa. They're like, "Come on, let me show you how much money I have. Look at my gold." Like, you dumb fucker. And oh, by the way, I have so many people. I'm just gonna sell you my cousin. And then the Europeans say, "Oh shit, he balling. He got money. I'm gonna prey on your goddamn ass." Ad infinitum, and they're still preying on them. So I have little sympathy, but the vitriol towards us is because we weren't supposed to survive. We were sold as a trinket to show off in front of the European. But guess what? We're the opponent of the oppressor, not them. Wasn't supposed
Professor,
to
They
happen.
had
Professor,
they
real
had
quick.
rituals.
I,
They
I,
had
I
what they did was so wicked. They had rituals, hoping that we were not going to survive. They had their magic rituals to hope that we were not going to survive, and all of that stuff has backfired on
Professor, real quick. I saw something yesterday. I got
Can
Hold
I
on,
done
hold
say
on. Fire
watching.
something?
Nagy. Go ahead, Fire Nagy.
I got done watching the game, and it's the channel flip. Oh, the next show up was Hollywood Squares, and I saw a Nigerian guy get up and he started talking about how he was an Igbo king, and the host, was Nate Burleson. He's a Black American. He just like kind of rolled his eyes, and so everything you guys have said and are saying now, it makes a lot of sense given the fact that I'm like, why did this Igbo so-called king decide to tell all these people in his audience he was a king? We don't care about that, but I noticed that is that he had the desire to just tell everybody, hey, I'm an Igbo king, and I'm like, yeah, but you're on Hollywood Squares, bro. Nobody cares.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But that's what you're looking at. You're looking at the lineage. When I was in Ghana, I mean that. I thank God for that trip because I never really was a Pan Africanist, but I think I had potential of being swayed. You know what I'm saying? Before I went there, and what I saw, I'm not gonna call it slavery. But I saw when I was in the mansions of dignitaries and royalty, they had like the black people, the Africans across the way, the bush people, just like as servants and shit. And I couldn't help but wonder, if you have servants in your own culture, if I got dual citizenship and moved over here, where would I fit in this hierarchy? You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be royal.
Yeah, I
I
feel you. You definitely wouldn't be. And that's how they kept it too. They was selling their own brothers and sisters, blood brothers and sisters. It's documented with Shaka Zulu because that's what he was trying to stop. And they murdered him, turned their backs on him. His cousins and some of his brothers turned their back on him and helped the British kill him.
okay, I would like to say
Go ahead.
something with what you read, Professor.
Go ahead.
From what from the records I have read, and some of the places, like, I don't know if you've heard of Badagry in Lagos. It was the vibe I get when I read the stories and I check accounts. It was it was a business. What they did was wrong, terribly wrong, and I'm sorry. I'm deeply sorry. And I'm sorry that most Africans don't have an apologetic tone to everything. But they were not doing it, from what I read, they were not doing it with a sadistic angle. I just want to bring pain to this person I'm selling. It was more like, we had this communal conflict, we had this fight, and I sell my prisoners of war. And when they saw that it became
How
a
are
business,
prisoners of war
they
nursing
went.
women and children? A lot of these people, I see old pictures, and there's like a whole bunch of little children.
Because that's what they took from Africa. They didn't come in, most of the times, they didn't come in when they raided the villages. All the men were usually gone. And they came in and they would take the women. When I say women, I really mean little girls. Because even the women fought. The women that were women, they fought to the damn death. They fought to their last breath, and they had to kill them because that's how much they fought. And that's only when they came in and
So
did
on the spot,
raids. But for the most part, a lot of them did do a
okay,
lot of the trading, and they was trading their own brothers and sisters. Like what is her name? Queen
Nzinga.
yeah, Queen Nzinga,
Madam Tinubu.
Madam Timbuktu too, her too. They was selling their own blood family members, sisters and brothers and cousins.
They,
And I don't mean like distant cousins neither. I mean like first and second cousins.
they were
Damn, they're still your sisters and brothers.
they were very sadistic. I'm not sure where you're getting your information from. They would lop off people's heads if they weren't healthy enough to satisfy the slave buyer, and
That's fucking
they
insane.
buried the slaves alive. That was a
And they did it
gusto.
real yes, and they did it real ritualistically because they knew what they were doing were wicked. And this is how you know that this is how I learned that they were complicit in it. This is how I learned they were complicit in it. I was a Pan Africanist at one time. I was when I was in between the ages of 14 and 15, but constantly doing research and learning more and more how they was complicit in it and how they did rituals because they knew what they were doing was wicked and it was going to come back on them. Come on now.
How many years sober are you now?
what you are saying, sorry to say,
How many years sober are you now?
what you are saying,
What do you mean?
Well, once you quit Pan Africanism, because I
Oh,
think you got to be on drugs. How many years sober are
Yeah,
you?
Pan Africanism is a drug.
yeah, that's
I would
true.
say that was my teenage years. So I would say maybe like 15, 20 years. I was a teenager. I was basically a kid. And, yeah, that's a whole nother chapter. I mean, I could talk about it. And I'm not ashamed to talk about it. Not at all because,
sorry,
I learned.
what you described, sorry to say, what you described is practically what has happened in almost every culture. The
Not in
Vikings
our
sold other
culture.
Europeans to slaves.
Oh
Other
no, I can
slaves
debunk
Not in
that.
Black
left.
American
Sorry,
culture.
sorry. Let me. Can I just? Sorry, can I explain something?
Okay,
They sold other
hold
Europeans
on.
into slaves to the
Okay,
Arabs,
That
and
sounds
they were
like the
even
same
but that's
rhetoric
not
that
going to
these
help.
white folks be spewing.
Yeah,
That's the same
no.
rhetoric
There's
that these
somewhere
white
I'm
folks be
heading to.
spewing.
There's
but
somewhere
here's
I'm
the
heading to.
deal.
Can you just hear me
Okay,
out, please?
hold on. Let me just say something real quick. I don't care. I don't care who sold who. We know that we were harmed by West Africans, and we know that they have minerals. We know they have UN seats, and they need to put something together to get some money up. That's the only way you can apologize, because I'm gonna tell you just like this, we forgave you for all that debauchery. We were trained to treat you like part of our family that was sick, or just to deny it altogether. Or, oh, they were tricked into doing it. We were trained to treat you like you were mental deficients, mental midgets that did not know any better, literal cave people that didn't know any better. That's what they taught us to do. And I don't think of you that way. I think you know what you're doing. I don't think you're mental midgets or have diminished capacity, because that's what Pan Africans think. Oh, they don't know any better. Well, when you say someone doesn't know any
They
better,
know.
you're saying they have diminished capacity, that they're not on the same level as other human beings in civilization. So, like I said, you have those UN seats over there. You got 54 countries, and you've done a boatload of begging. We've given Africans millions, billions. Did you know that Black Americans pay 25 or spend 25% more in charitable donations than other groups, than white people? So we've given the diaspora. I could put our portfolio of humanitarian aid to Africa up there and the Caribbean. We've given tons of money over the years, and emotional support, and lended a voice and made people take disparaging images and things off of your image. We have rehabilitated your image. We brought out all that Mansa Musa, Queen Nzinga, and all that. Not you. Not you. That's us. We've done everything to rehabilitate you. So we've done a lot for Africa. They've done nothing for us. And then for them to turn around and send a bunch of rabid animals over here to attack us in our own country and pass judgment and wag their fingers while they're coming from a hut. No, you're not. You're not doing that. So get your money up, arrange your UN seats, and then come back. Because if you don't, you don't have anything to talk to us about. You don't have anything to say. What are you going to say to us? You've harmed us multiple times in layers, and you continue to be a problem for everybody globally. Nobody wants to see your face. You've even harmed our image globally, because we were having a great time going to Europe. I know people over in Europe right now, and we were the darlings of Europe. You see, since Josephine Baker. And you ruin that now. Anybody sees a brown face, they're resistant. Oh, are they over here trying to get asylum? Are they trying to get our resources? You've destroyed everything. You are destructive. You've come over here, ran on a campaign of getting rid of Black History Month. What are you people doing? You are a national disaster and a global disaster. Keep a low profile and get your money up is what you need to do, or else you have nothing to look forward to. Because if Black Americans are not an ally to you, you don't have an ally. We're the only ally you ever had. We're the only source of conscience that we can say, hey, these people are suffering. You don't have anything else. So you better get your money up. You owe reparations to us. Hook up with those Europeans that control your funds and get something going. And that's the only thing I ever want to hear, is those UN seats and that dividend check rolling in.
Because they showed up talking about exterminating the entire continent of Africa. All the black people over there, they talking about exterminating them. Right now, white folks in Europe are talking about figuring out how to exterminate them.
Mm.
They said they are useless people, the most useless people on earth, and that's how they looking at it. They see the value in us. They see all the inventions and ideas that we didn't brought to the table and still bringing to the table. They see y'all as a third leg, a crutch.
All they want is your minerals. They know that you're not going to come up with any music genres or anything of interest. There's just nothing there, just minerals.
Because we are the
Hey,
resource. When it boil down to it, when they say cotton is king, they really talking about us. We was the number one cash crop. We was the number one cash crop. We were worth more than gold. We still are worth more than gold in many
Agricultural
ways.
gold. Agricultural gold is what justified those ports and cities here in this country. We wouldn't have had any ports or cities or trains if it wasn't for that agricultural gold.
We wouldn't have damn near anything. Well, they wouldn't have damn near anything. As far as like take us, especially when it comes down to a lot of technology and ideas, agriculture. Because I'm a man of science. I do a lot of science stuff. I'm a science and engineering. Rockets, anything that you could think of that's an invention or idea, they got it from us. And that's one of the reasons why they still keep us around because Andrew Jackson wanted us to leave after the revolution. Andrew Jackson was talking about getting us up out of here. He was talking about it. It's documented. You can go and read it. He was talking about that we need to get these people out of here. They do not need to stay here. They do not need to find out their connection to this land. Because if they do, we are doomed. And he knew that. He had several meetings with Washington and the rest of them jokers. He knew what the get down was. He knew how it was only a matter of time, not an if. He knew it was only a matter of time.
Do you think it was
Did
DEI
you read
hires?
what happened in Liberia?
Hmm?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I said, do you think those women that
Did you
calculated the moon landing were DEI hires? No. We were recruited because we're geniuses.
Exactly. We knew
Okay.
what we were doing.
my question is I want to ask a question. Did you read what happened in Liberia between the returnees and the indigenous people?
You mean how they wanted to be a part of the government when they had on loincloths and then they crashed the whole thing out of jealousy?
Yeah, how they massacred people over there. Our people.
Mhm.
Yeah. How it's a failed state
After
now that
we
we
came
got
over there and started
it
to build
was
it up.
it was the richest country in West Africa. You started a coup, and then that coup led to two civil wars, and now it's one of the poorest nations on earth. So yeah, we do know what happened. It's completely a failed state because of African
are you
greed.
two Lando and Otter? Are you two men or mice? They're here shitting on your peoples, and literally you
That's
just
not
taking
the
it simple.
Ain't nobody
that's not
shitting
the
on
point.
nobody.
You
He
shouldn't
just
be
telling the truth.
fighting
Are
when you're
you actually going
wrong.
to be
He is telling the
grow
truth.
some
Ain't nobody
balls
shitting
Yo,
on
and
nobody.
take
Resco's
some
an
He
pride
agent
in
of
your
doesn't
people and not
chaos.
be
Resco
ashamed?
doesn't listen,
Are you going to say anything positive about your
Resco.
I kicked him off my stage. He's an agent of chaos. I
Ugh.
think he's sent here to disrupt the learning process.
He's never arguing against the
Sorry, let me
point.
tell you
He's
what
just mad
happened.
that they're not saying lies back or pretending that these things are not true. They can't stand the truth.
No, and he's gonna tell a lie about
Sorry,
the
there was
origins of
something.
Liberia. I've heard it many times. It was called the Pepper Coast. This and that we were oppressive. Liberia was recognized by every country in the world, including the ones on the continent of Africa. Okay, they recognize our sovereignty over it, our dominion, and our ownership of the rubber plantations and trees. That was a known thing. It was one of the largest exporters of rubber in the world when we had possession of it. That is the truth. Those are the facts.
Okay, can I talk now? Why I
Yeah.
said did you read about what happened in Liberia is because I was trying to let you know that there are certain behaviors that pop up wherever human beings are, regardless of race, religion, or region. So when the returnees got to Liberia, after a while, there was kind of like a repeat
No, that's
of
incorrect.
what was
We,
happening.
we founded
No,
Liberia.
let me land. Let me land,
We
please.
founded
Sorry, please.
Liberia.
Let
You
me
talk
let me
correctly.
land. Wait. Hold on, please. You founded Liberia. but they
We
were
bought land, but you can't
indigenous
buy
communities.
land from Africans because they're rip-off artists. Hello. You cannot buy anything
Please let
from
me land. Let
Africans.
me
What part of
explain.
that don't you get? We bought
Preach.
land.
I'm saying, let me just listen.
You
Please
did not
listen. Just
like
listen.
that fact. Oh, that's my tribal land. It's
Okay,
in my
just
heart.
listen to what
The
I'm trying to
receipt is
say.
built into your DNA, but not in your hands. You see, you do that game.
Thank you, but okay, listen to what I'm saying. I'm trying to say there's an element of this controlling people, having a caste system, having a class system, having people on top and people under, people controlled and people controlling. It's a human thing. I'm not giving excuses for it, but I'm
Why
saying
should you be
even
on
with
top when you
returned,
were literally in a diaper? Why would you be on
can you
top
just
of the
listen, please?
Liberian
I've been
government
listening
when
to
you're
you.
illiterate? Walking around in a loincloth
Just
and your
listen to
women's
me.
breasts out. Why would you be on the top of the Liberian government? You're primitive.
Professor said when he got to Ghana, just calm down. Professor said when he got to Ghana, he noticed that among the elites, there were servants serving them.
I
Now I'm just trying
didn't
to
like it.
let you listen. Can I learn, please? I've been listening. Let me explain the point. I'm trying to tell you that human beings, wherever human beings have gathered, we try to create a system of people on top and people below. And I was trying to give you examples of cases in Europe, in the Middle East, in Central and South America, pre-European contact, where people were using others for human sacrifices, people were buried alive. It is not an African, it is not unique to Africa. What happened here was terrible, and I'm sorry about that, but it was
Yo,
not
where is
unique
your
to
faith at,
Africa.
bro?
That is not
The
true. They did
problem,
not start doing that until
listen,
Europeans came over. That is not
listen,
true. They
the
did not start
problem,
doing that
the
until Europeans
problem,
came over. When Europeans came over and started trying to invade the continent of Africa, that's when they
I
started
said,
doing that. I mentioned
I
King
said the
Tut.
Europeans were doing it
I mentioned
themselves.
King Tut's tomb
Listen,
yesterday.
listen, please.
I mentioned King Tut's tomb
Listen, I
yesterday,
said
and it depicts
Europeans.
that. I'm sorry, his chest. I mentioned his chest yesterday, and on the back of that chest, it depicts that very situation. How Europeans was always trying to come over and invade, and how that happened, how that took place.
You didn't listen to what I said. I said Europeans were doing that to themselves. Middle Easterners were doing that to themselves. Turks were doing that to Arabs. Arabs were doing that to Bosnians, to Croatians, to people that could. It's a human thing. I didn't say
No,
it
By
started
you
when
saying that
Europeans
it is a
came.
I
human
I
want
thing,
said
to
I'm
say
not
by
listening.
saying
Just
it's a
calm
human
down.
thing, by saying that it is human, you are contradicting yourself. That's why I'm correcting you. Because by saying that it was a human thing,
No,
you're saying that all humans do it. And humans in Africa were
I'm
not
saying the
doing that.
problem is that we didn't apologize. That's where our error is. We didn't apologize. That is the error that we made. That's the error that our 40 to 50 something governments made. There should be a uniform apology. There should be some sitting down and reconciliation. That's where we messed up.
No, we don't want
But
any
it is not
apology.
unique to Africa.
We
What
want
happened in
Yeah, we
cash.
need
Benin?
more than an apology. We
You know,
want
you've already
checks.
apologized and we already know, and then you backtrack on it and say you didn't sell slaves, so that's not going to cut it anymore.
Yeah, we need checks. We need to, them checks need to be cut.
Yeah, are you familiar with the concept of egalitarianism? Because Black Americans are very egalitarian. So you're saying that's what human beings do, and in fact, you try to use Liberia, and that was basically a humble fail. We didn't do that when we went to Africa. What the relationship we created was that we would not interfere with the tribal practices, and the Liberians worked on those plantations. They were paid. It was the richest country in West Africa. You were compensated, but the land we purchased it lawfully from the Africans, but you became jealous of the wealth we amassed. We don't
Envious.
do that to each other. We don't even treat you guys as a lower ranking here. In fact, you can downvote it all you want to. In fact, Africans are treated better by Black Americans than you're treated by other Africans, even within your own tribe, and you know it.
Because we
Okay,
don't have no
so let's
tribalism.
yeah, so let's
right.
stop with all that.
Because we did
Every
not
other
commit a
group,
genocide on you and the other ones did, into the millions.
We
every
don't
other group
enslave
comes to
y'all.
America and they expect a higher standard from black Americans. Hispanics know we treat them better than their own people. That's why they migrate north and not south into the heart of Hispanistan. You migrate as many as you can to the United States. You don't go to Commonwealth countries like Canada, New Zealand, Australia, the United Kingdom. You come to you come here. You come here because we're here. So the notion that we somehow behave like you is false, and I know it's false because I can look at your migratory practices. Even people within the Caribbean don't migrate to Commonwealth countries like Canada or other Caribbean countries. They come here to America where they can be under the protection of Black Americans. Stop with that false narrative, that false equivalency. It is not true. You know it not to be true. It is historically not true. It is completely unfounded.
Opposite,
Okay, so you're
quite the
saying there
opposite.
was
Because when we come over there, we are not protected. And I want to say it was Ghana about maybe 7 years ago. It was a 72-year-old black woman, black and American woman, foundational black American woman. May she rest in power. Her and her sister were murdered, even though they bought the land and it was legally proved in the Ghanaian court of law that they were the owners of the land. The people, the tribes there murdered them anyway. And they were 72-year-old, they were elderly black women. And I use the word elderly respectfully. They were elderly black women and they were murdered in cold blood. And folks try to sit around and justify it, talking about they knew that the land was not theirs when they won it legally in a court of law in Ghana. Explain that. Who wants to build something with people that do something like that, some cowardly stuff like that? Murder two elderly women who cannot defend themselves in cold blood. It takes a whole tribe to do that. I don't see it. No excuses. No mercy for the wicked.
Yeah, what we're looking at right now is behaviors that come from that young Adrias. The old argument of nature versus nurture. The European, um, is it a nature or nurture thing? I don't know. I'm not a geneticist, but I know that their environment uh, created a lot of barbaric customs and practices, diets, and such that. Uh, African culture has kind of adopted in a certain extent. So trying to superimpose that on, and we can prove it this way.
Yeah, we could definitely prove it. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. The proof is in the pudding. History doesn't lie. It's either it's false or it's true. It's either true or false. It's one or the other. In present
Can I
time,
make a correction to your numbers? There's more. There's 800,000 Jamaicans in the United Kingdom. More Jamaicans than there is in America. There's hundreds of.
Why don't you go home? Why are you all up in everybody's business?
They good. They good at spinning, man. They be spinning, man. They know how to spin to some history. They try to tell us about.
and most of it be cap. It just be lies and cap because he couldn't come up with one thing that was
Find a
productive and
way from.
constructive for black
But when we get
society.
to information from foundational Black Americans, and when it be like history, because I be learning myself as history. You gotta kind of like be humble. See what's the mentality of the people. See, think where you at under, like, from what I'm hearing. So it's like if you come here to relieve yourself from the, like, hey, I'm black, it's not gonna work. And
Anybody talking?
No, I thought it was something would happen myself. I was like, what's going on?
It keeps breaking up.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing if I was the only one that was experiencing that the breakup in and out because he was spitting some good stuff, but he was just breaking up and breaking out. Then I kept hearing the computer love.
Yeah. Some.
Yeah, I think the guy that came in here that said that 800,000 Jamaicans live in the United Kingdom is BS because when the Jamaicans have kids here, they readily identify as Black Americans. You see, they shed that Jamaican identity really fast. Okay, so that gets kind of like muddled, very readily. When they have kids over there in the United Kingdom, they still identify as Jamaican because the United Kingdom only allows them to identify as that. They say, no, you're not British.
Exactly, and they real hard with that type of stuff over there. They make sure, without a doubt. I remember there was a case, a real big case where um, this Jamaican guy was wrongfully accused of murdering some British white prostitute, and they had him locked up for a long time, but he didn't commit the crime. And the reason why they had him locked up was because he was a and they convicted him was because he was a Jamaican. You know, he was a Jamaican of African descent.
Okay, Tyrell, I would like to ask you a question. Um,
Go ahead.
you mentioned something about the weather. You are sort of alluding to the fact that the weather in Europe might be the reason why they behave, or some of them behave in a certain way. Then I think you mentioned something about culture as the reason for certain Africans behaving in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is, do you seem to have read a lot. You said you were once a Pan-African when you were a teenager, and now you've stopped that. Do you, from what you've read generally about the world, about the history, do you genuinely feel these nasty, negative, terrible things, human sacrifices, cannibalism, selling others into slavery, sometimes family members, from all you've read and you've watched or you've observed or you've seen in museums or wherever you traveled, has there been any part of the world, especially in the past, where these practices were unique to Europe and Africa? This is just a genuine question.
Um, to answer your question, well, I'm gonna start off like this. I'm gonna answer your question, but I'm gonna start off like this, and I'm gonna be real straight to the point. I know for a fact, doing my research, I know for a fact that not all Africans participated in the Atlantic slave trade. I know that for a fact doing my research. Okay, with that being said, um, a lot of the ritual sacrifices and cannibalism came from Europe. There were Europeans. That was Europeans. That was their thing, and that's what they did. A lot of the cannibalism and ritual sacrifice is from their culture. You know, uh, a war culture. I wouldn't really even call it a war culture because they don't have no honor. I will really just call it like a caveman savage culture. And I'm kind of really being nice with that because one of the things that me and my old man, my father always talked about was they were originally never from the caves. They were mud people. They dug mud holes. In history, when you look back at it and you document it, they were never really even cave people. They never really even stayed in the caves because they didn't know how to do that. They were mud people. They dug holes in the ground and they lived in the mud. They walked on all fours and they bathed at the moon because at that time, Europe was in perpetual darkness for the most part. It was like some of the northern parts, because it's still like that now in many northern parts of Europe, as far as like Finland, they get 6 months, like Alaska does. They get 6 months of day, and they get 6 months of night. You know, what they would call twilight. You know, and that's why they crawled on the ground, because they could not see. And during those 6 months of night, they could not see, and they did not really know how to make fire like that. And that's also why they stayed in mud holes and live with dogs. So to answer your question, um, yes, that is definitely specifically a European culture. It's not necessarily African, but Africans have adopted some of that culture. Not necessarily the physical part of cannibalism, like actually eating people, but spiritually and mentally, yeah, eating people, yes. They have fed on a lot of those people, some of them, their own blood family members, and this is documented. Shaka Zulu definitely documented this. Shaka Zulu talked about this when the British came. He talked about how some of the other Zulu nation tribes were selling some of their own blood family members. They were. And this is why some of the other chieftain tribe members of some of the other Zulu tribes had a problem with Shaka Zulu, because he was against all of that. And he wanted to put an end to all of that. He was killing people in order to put an end to that. And if you had more people that were Shaka Zulu mindset, it had a mindset like Shaka Zulu, a lot of the slave trade would have never taken place. Does that answer your question?
No, it
Wait, did we
doesn't.
say that
Uh,
Africans did
I
not
just
commit cannibalism?
Not all of them.
It is. Well, cannibalism
my
is a human phenomena, and I don't know why, but they have this notion that if they eat something, they gain the qualities of what they ate. So Europeans had that belief system. Africans are far older than Europeans, so they definitely had the attitude that if they eat their ancestor, they're going to get the qualities of the ancestor. So yeah,
Yes, they did.
they do have that mindset. And even in Chinese medicine, they think if they eat some fetuses, they're going to cure their fertility problems. If they eat testicles or deer antlers or other places where testosterone is found on the animal, they feel like they're going to get the testosterone. They're not, but they feel like they are. And this has been a thing that people have believed on every continent except Antarctica, and then maybe there, but I don't know about it. Everywhere they think if they ingest something, they get the qualities, and cannibalism has been found on every continent in many, many cultures.
Thank you for that. So you see how you are gradually getting to my point that every
No,
nasty
because
thing,
Black Americans never
no,
ate each other, and we have never done a genocide on each other. And
That
Africans
that's
did.
basically the
my
point that
point
I
We're
was
now
trying to
we're
make
very
myself.
humanitarian minded people, and Africans are not. They don't have a problem. They'll walk right past a child starving and vultures sitting over there watching. They don't care. You don't care that you're not that kind of people. Now, maybe we care because we've been subjected to very harsh treatment and we know what it feels like to be under the gun. Who knows? But the bottom line is we cared and we have a portfolio to prove it. And you guys don't. A whole 54 countries have a portfolio of just backstabbing each other and never cooperating and not being humanitarian minded.
Yeah,
you are
modern
generally
Africa has that. Modern Africa does have that, and that's basically the point that I was getting to. Like modern Africa does have that backstabbing. They have no code of conduct. I mean, that's why the slave trade was allowed to take place. That's exactly why what happened. What happened is because they lost sight of themselves. They lost sight of their identity. and many other things, a code of conduct. That's why what happened, what happened. I mean, Mansa Musa was just the start.
Hey,
You
Yeah,
know,
referring to that.
Ata, are you familiar with the Philippines? Ata,
To some extent, yes.
okay. Did you know the Philippines was once part of the United States?
Yes.
Yeah. One of the reasons why the Philippines got its independence is because of Black Americans pushing the anti-imperialistic notion that we shouldn't dominate or control the Philippines. The free Black press was one of the reasons why the slaughter of the Philippines stopped. One of the great heroes of the Filipino Wars was it was a Black American by the name of Captain David Fagan. You should look him up. But we are a primary reason as to why the Philippines is independent and no longer a vassal state of the United States of America or a territory.
I was about to say, yeah, you had a lot of black brothers that was in the army too during the American Filipino Wars.
Yep,
That
Buffalo Soldiers. Yep.
yeah, that turned on even the American army because they was trying to help them people free themselves.
so Africans never had a code of conduct and they sold slaves prior to the transatlantic slave trade. They sold slaves in the trans Saharan slave trade. They sold slaves on every conceivable level. And they still
You are
sell slaves
describing.
today. They never learned their lesson. They don't believe that people have sovereignty over themselves. That's not something they believe. They don't believe women have the
You are
right to not be
describing.
raped. They don't believe that people have the right to not be snatched off the street and sold. They don't believe those things.
Nope, and that's why they were so quick to adopt Muslim Islam. That's why they were so quick to jump to Islam because Islam promotes a lot of that. And I'm not trying to
You
shit
are
on Islam.
generalizing.
I'm not trying to shit on the Islamic religion, but the Islamic religion promotes a lot of that. I mean, it does. The Bible does too. Christianity, because it's all forms of Christianity. They all
So,
promote and justify race, not just racism. I'm sorry, but slavery. They all justifies the Bible, all forms of Christianity, the religion of Ham. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody that that are of any of those religions, but the religion of Him, which includes all of them, all the forms of Christianity and all the forms of Islam, they
so,
promote and justify slavery.
so he put his thumb down. Um,
Let,
Ada,
let me
do girls
explain.
get snatched out of the school, impregnated, and chucked the back where they came from, or not?
It happens in certain areas.
Your men
Generalizing
snatch multiple
is
schoolgirls,
exaggerating.
the entire school,
Let me
rape
explain.
everybody,
You said
impregnate
Tyler
them,
said.
and okay, can we get on mute? It's causing a lot of static on the stage. That's a typical thing that you guys do. And then you ask Black American, the Congressional Black Caucus, to help you with it. Why don't you help yourselves not
I
rape
told you
everybody?
that those are terrorists. You are generalizing, ma'am. Listen, Tyrell said something, and I'm trying to get to a point. Just let me finish. He said, for instance, you said there is no code of conduct, and you said they do this, you do this, you do that. You got a series of negative things. And I was trying to say, ma'am, you are just describing how many most cultures have been since the beginning of the world. And like I said,
We're talking about
Viking
today.
chiefs were very.
We know about slavery. Okay, well, talking about today. A girl going to school today could quite possibly be snatched up, raped, and deposited back, or forced marriage.
Can I land? There's human
Today, you
trafficking. There's
marry
more.
children. Today, your actual age of consent is 7 years old. And the only reason you raised it is because the international community made a stink. Today, the continent practices female genital mutilation. Do I need to continue? Today,
Just
you have
let me
rape
finish. Can
capitals
you
of the
just
world.
pause?
Today. Go ahead.
Human trafficking is more in Southeast Asia than in Africa.
I agree. They have problems
People who
all
are
over the place, but they don't have it
can I
everywhere.
just talk? The people dying on boats to get to Europe. People think it's Africans that they no, it's Syrians, it's Afghans, it's Turks.
We see them.
Most of the violent criminals in Europe are not black Africans. They are not Africans. They are Middle Easterners. I can put this
I
information on
agree
the
that
jungle
most of
through.
the rapey, violent people are Arabs,
Central,
but
Central and South America.
Africans do form gangs in those countries, and they get into a lot of prostitution.
because of Islam,
Please,
because of the Islamic religion. That's one of the main reasons why, because the Islamic religion makes it okay.
thank
Because
you.
that's
You,
what the
you heard of
Arabics
the
Let,
that's what the Arabics do. That's
let,
not to excuse what happens though.
let's go to
It's not to,
Actify. Let's go to Actify Press for a minute. Hey, Actify.
Hey, Wani, I kind of gave up on raising my hand.
I'm sorry.
All right, greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I went to run an errand down the street, and I had 100% reception, but it still crashed somehow. So we were talking about is a Black American experience unique? We had a very interesting dialogue. That was space one. We're going to have another space tonight. So that was the early afternoon space to address that particular issue. We'll have another space dedicated to Dr. King later on tonight. Just FYI. Just to check for understanding, Wani, can you hear me, or did my space act up again?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we were discussing some very interesting topics. In conclusion, is the Black American experience unique? Hell yes. Moreover, we've learned that the Black American experience is unique because of the conditioning process and the lack of the illusion of inclusion. Now we had an agent of chaos up here. I want y'all to notice that guy. He shows up when I'm having real high intellectual conversations with this British accent and won't answer questions and just sows dissension. That's some MI6 bullshit, but I'm on his game. I got training too. You don't want got some training. I got some of it too. And I just want to point out a teachable moment about the guy who came up. His name escapes me right quick. I'm in the truck, but he came up here just not answering questions, trying to confuse. It's my opinion that gentleman sent in my room to try to disrupt, but I'm on his shit. I kept removing him. beware of agents of chaos. Conversation is all about reciprocity and exchange. It don't have to be nice. We could be cussing each other out, but if I ask you a question, you got to answer my question. Likewise, if you ask me a question, I got to engage and somehow satisfy your question. That's called a conversation. In law school, we learned the word contra in paragraph structure means across from. So like an exchange, conversation. We're exchanging stuff. He refused to exchange. He just kept throwing seeds of dissension into the conversation. My question is, why was he doing that? Why didn't he want us to have this conversation? Well, because it was a very powerful conversation wherein we actually had a member of the diaspora from Jamaica agreeing. I'm not even gonna say agreeing. I'm gonna say volunteering that his colleagues from Jamaican homeland, in large part, come over here to benefit off the backs of Black Americans. Well, we're in a new epic of Black Americans where we're focusing on ourselves. We're focusing on our children. My concern is on our children and making sure they have the opportunities that I didn't have, um, based off the backs of us. Last thing I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna land my plane. What we should never forget is Black Americans represent a large spending block um, in the world. You know, we support of immigrants, um, and immigrants are aware of our spending power, and they intend on leeching after us. So keep that in mind. Um, what I would like to see happen is us turn our spending power towards each other. Wouldn't it be nice if we could live off of each other? Here goes Resco again. He's an agent of chaos. Tyrell, what?
And just
Go ahead.
we're gonna let him try one last time because it seems like his argument is that they're not coming up with good enough lies to combat our facts. He doesn't like the fact that they're just rolling over. He likes it when they just keep making up lies, calling us baby mamas, and all these types of things. What's happening is some global straightening, okay?
Yes.
That's what's going on. And you can't do anything because we know what we're talking about. We know what you've done and we know what we've done. But other people are very unaware of our history. We can pull receipts on all of you out of our back pockets.
And I would say this before we continue. Doggone it. I would say this. Um, what they fail to realize is we got whole scholars that's dedicated their whole goddamn life to explain. And forgive the noise. I'm getting out my truck. My keys are jangling. But we have whole scholars who've dedicated their life work on trying to understand what's wrong. So we up here not only knowing what's wrong, we got scholars like Carter G. Woodson who didn't even get married, didn't even have children, to try to figure out what the fuck is going on with the black American. Dedicated his whole life. Scholars like Claude Anderson, who dedicated his life to trying to figure out what's going on. So what insults me is these jokers coming up in our mix as if we're stupid when we got whole books talking about what you're doing and how you're doing it. And what they're doing is playing out like a goddamn chess game. It's like, dude, I know what you're gonna say. You're about to say something about my baby mama or a drug dealer. You're about to say per capita. You're about to say the violence in Chicago. Like, can y'all get some new stereotypes? But Resco, I'm gonna give you some rules for the last time. When somebody asks you a question, answer the question. When somebody else is talking, wait for them to land their plane. I promise you'll have your chance to speak. Without further ado, Resco, you're on. I'm up here talking to myself through a goddamn mute. This is ridiculous.
All right. What
I,
happened? You said Resco, you're on, and then
oh,
what
y'all,
did you
y'all,
say
y'all
after
did,
that?
y'all did hear that. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
Am I on? Am I?
Yes, you are, sir.
Greetings, beautiful,
yeah.
wonderful black people. How are we doing? I'm here to answer your questions. Um, I'll try as best as I can. And I don't indulge in any of that shenanigans where you speak ill of other black Americans. All that stuff you were saying about baby mamas, that's just nonsense. I don't indulge in that foolishness.
We're not even on the list of people that have all these paternity issues.
No,
Okay.
like I said, I
So,
don't indulge in that silliness.
what
So
type of South African are you?
I'm Bantu, so I'm from the Bantu tribe, the Bantu people.
You're not supposed to be there
What do you mean I'm not supposed to be there?
anywhere.
Oh, no, no, what do you mean I'm not supposed to be there? What are you talking about specifically?
Well, the Bantu expansion, you made a U-turn at some point and went back to bug the Khoisan, the Pygmies, and other people in East Africa, South Africa, Central Africa.
That's correct. The Heroes moved down, and the Bantus came down to the region that we call now South Africa in the 11th
Hmm.
century. So, yeah, you're correct. But, people move, people conquer, and that's just history. That's the histories of people. This happened all across the globe. This is not exclusive to the African region whatsoever.
Do you feel less connected to the land than the Khoisan?
Do I feel less connected?
Yes.
No.
Do you feel that they have more of a right to be there than yourself?
No, of course not.
Why not?
No, because our people, well, what is a
You
Bantu
took
people
their
now? They've
land
been there
and
for
they
eight,
wanted to
they've been
do
there for the
things
best
their
part.
way, and you wanted to do
They've,
your things
they've been
on
there
their
for the
land,
best
their
part
way,
of
your way.
Wani. They've been there for the best part of 900 years. Okay,
So,
so are we really going to do this?
a pest is a pest.
Okay, fair enough, if you say so.
Now, Bantus are dispersing again.
Well, my
What's
people
the
actually,
problem?
hold on. My people actually moved to an area which was largely inhabited. Um, the sort of the Malawi, Zimbabwe, Zambia area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, on my father's side, um, I'm a descendant of the Nguni, which inhabited South Africa, so part of the old Ngoni kingdom, the Zulu kingdom. So we've been there for 800 years.
Okay. Now, what did you want to say?
Um, when I came up, I just wanted to respond to that Lando chap because I felt that I know he was trying
Let's
to be reasonable and have a
let's stop
civil
for just a
conversation
second.
with me,
The
but I
things
just
that
felt that
Lando said and the things that I said were legitimate things that Caribbeans specifically are doing to undermine Black Americans. And so you're angry because he did not deny it. He
no.
didn't fight me. So what are you mad about? Because he didn't say anything that wasn't correct, and I didn't say anything that wasn't correct, but you got viciously angry because that face wasn't being saved, right? He wasn't saving face. And so you had to run up on the stage and try to save face for him. You got very angry about it. Why did you get angry?
I think vicious anger is a bit of an exaggeration. I think that's a bit of a hyperbole. But I didn't get angry. I just wanted to come and say, brother, show some pride in your people, defend your people. You come here, shit and trash on your people without saying anything positive about your people, apart
What
from
could
your
he
mom and
say
dad.
that was positive? What have Caribbeans done that's positive for Black Americans? What could he have said?
Oh, there's a whole bunch of cultural contributions,
You keep
social
saying that, but you're
contributions,
not
and
saying what
economic
it is. There's no
contributions.
cultural contributions.
A
We
whole
already
bunch.
have
No,
Carnival in
are you making the
Louisiana.
argument? Are you
We
making the
don't need
listen? I'm
we don't need their rice. We have our own
Are you making the
Louisiana.
Wally? Let me ask you this question: Are you making the argument that Jamaicans have not contributed anything
Yes.
to not just
Yes,
Black
I am.
American culture, but American
Yes, I
society?
am. I'm
That's a goddamn
definitely
lie.
making that.
I'll give
I'm
you.
absolutely making that claim
I'll
because
give you.
they
I'll
don't
give.
have anything unique in the culture. They can't say we brought you rice dishes. We already have similar things that are in Louisiana. We have Mardi Gras and we have rice dishes. So what could they bring
I'm
us?
not disputing
We
that, but
created
I'm not,
reggae.
listen, I'm not disputing
Stop.
that, but
We created
they've got their
reggae
own version
for
of
them.
cuisine, which is, unique to them.
Version of what? Nobody asked them for a version of anything. Why
Or
did
it's
they keep using our things and regurgitating
whether
it back to us and telling us it's cool?
whether you ask them or
We
not, it's a
didn't ask for
contribution.
that.
No, because you made the claim that they didn't contribute anything, but whether you ask them
A
or not, it's a
contribution,
contribution.
hold on, a contribution is something that we want, not something you're shoving down our throats like Cynthia Revo.
No,
We didn't ask for that contribution. They can take that crap back.
I'll give you another way.
So
Okay,
so
that's
again, again,
that's
contribution.
you not liking the
Let's look
contribution,
at it.
but you don't
Let's look
speak
at the word
for all.
con.
You don't speak for all Black Americans.
You got to calm down, man. Like I hate having to mute you, but contribution means across. Contra, that means across from. So what have you given across to us? That's what contribution means.
Okay,
So you
I'll give
think,
you another.
right?
I'll give you
Do
another
you
very.
think carnival,
I'll give.
do you think clogging up the streets with carnival is worth spreading drugs through our society and creating the drug epidemic? We don't grow drugs. We
I'll
don't.
give you another. I'll give you another example.
Do you think
Reggae music.
starting riots
Reggae
and
music is
attributing,
something which is.
we
Hold on,
created it. If you would be quiet and stop
hold on,
talking, we
hold on.
created reggae music. So you can't say reggae music either.
You okay? You might have influenced reggae
No, we
music, but we know that
created it.
reggae
We
music
created
is
every
quintessentially.
aspect of it. Sorry, we created every aspect of it.
How many Black Americans are performing reggae music right now
It's
across
not
the globe?
about who's performing it, it's who performed it and made international hits off of it before they ever got started. Not only did we create the beat with the song No More Doggin', we
There might have
created the
been
entire
the
beat
music
that
itself
they
might have been
heard.
influenced by Black Americans,
Stop.
and we're not
You're
going to
not
deny
letting me,
that.
you're not letting me finish. So how are you going to ever learn?
Gone, one, gone.
Not only did we create the No More Doggin' beat, but a man named Johnny Nash was signed for with a record deal in Kingston, Jamaica, and went on to make a series of reggae hits that were international. You don't have the presence to make international hits. Nobody wants to hear Jamaicans. Okay. So after we did that, stop. After we did that, then you started getting your own songs. You didn't create the beat, you didn't create the interest around the music genre. Okay?
Well, that's just a goddamn lie, and you know it. Okay,
No, it isn't. We have
listen,
the
listen.
problem is with your belly aching is we have recording dates. We know who had hits and when, and we know when it was a number one hit and it was international. You can't loud talk us out of our music genres. And by the way, I don't even like reggae, but I'm just saying they didn't bring us anything. They came up after there was a labor shortage and they saw those sound systems and block parties and they said, "We want one too, mommy. We want one too." And they went back to Jamaica and asked a Chinese Jamaican to make them a sound system. Okay, they don't have anything. No, they don't
Name
have
me the
anything
big
to do
American
with
reggae band
anything.
then.
They don't have anything to do with reggae. They don't have anything to do with sound systems. They simply saw someone else doing it and copied it. So they
Okay,
didn't
well,
contribute reggae to us.
I think you yourself know that that is a lie, and you're being disingenuous. Now,
They
listen,
didn't contribute. They didn't
we can
contribute.
agree that it was influenced by Black Americans for
No, we can
sure.
agree that we
Okay,
made it
I'm
and
not
let them run
disputing that.
away with it, just
But for
like
you to
drill
come
music.
here,
Just like
for you
drill
to
music, we created it in Chicago, but there's a bunch of goofy UK individuals running around talking about they created drill music and you didn't.
no,
Again,
no,
you don't have any music. You have
drill music was created in Chicago. I
you
absolutely
have
agree.
no
Okay.
music. You're sitting there right now, a South African, and you have zero influential music in the UK. The
Oh
UK
gosh, is
copies the
that how you
music
lie to
off of
yourself?
us.
I mean, here you are
Uh,
claiming that the
what
Jamaicans,
music? What music do white
here
UK
you are
people?
claiming that the Jamaicans are not the ones who exported reggae music to the world. Can you listen to yourself?
No, we did it. And number one, not only did we popularize reggae music,
Last time
but
I checked, Bob Marley was not born in
Chinese Jamaicans are the ones who
is
were the
Sizzler from America?
engineers
Is
and the
Burning Spear from
distrib. and the distributors and
Is
the
Luciano
engineers
from
were
America?
Chinese. Jam- huh?
Is Chronix from Jamaica? From America even? Is Bert?
Can you stop it? We're not saying that we're reggae stars,
Well,
sir. We're
well,
saying we
they're the
created the
ones who've
genre. Why do you
exported.
get confused?
The Jamaicans are the ones
Why are you illiterate and
because
not
the
listening
Jamaicans are
to
the
what
ones
I'm
who
saying?
exported reggae to the world.
No, they didn't. They
Yes,
did
they
not
did.
popularize. No, they didn't. They did not popularize that genre of music. Black Americans did,
Well, we're not
and
gonna
we
have
handed them
we're
the
not gonna have this
baton.
argument because you're lying.
No, because you just don't know what you're talking about
I
as
think you're the
usual.
one who doesn't know what
No.
you're talking.
And now I want you to answer a question. What music do white UK people have? I want to hear this. What music do white UK people, what did they create over there?
I don't know. I don't listen to white people UK music.
What music do they have over there?
Most of the music is obviously influenced by the Americans. I mean, we're not disputing or arguing against that.
No, not
They have,
Americans, Black Americans, not Americans. Americans have no music
I stand
genres.
corrected. Black
Black
Americans, yes,
Americans.
Black Americans. We
Now,
agree there. Absolutely, one
now
hundred
that you're
percent.
oriented, you have no music to listen to unless you're listening to
Uh-oh.
an
Somebody talking?
interpretation.
Jesus.
Yes, I am.
Why does
An
this keep
interpret.
happening? Wani, can you hear me?
No,
I can hear
you
you.
can't hear me. You can't hear me.
I can hear Ronnie. I can hear Professor as well. Anyway, like you were saying, absolutely right. Drill music was created in Chicago. I'm not disputing that. Uh, young black British.
But your little weirdos over there lie and say that they created it and that they exported it to Africa. You didn't. You
Well,
don't
that's
have anything to
well,
export.
just
You
because
don't
of
have
few.
anything to, why don't you just admit it? You don't have anything to export
Yeah.
to anybody unless you're mooching off
What
of
do you mean? What
somebody
do you mean?
else.
You? I mean, there's Africa is 54.
You personally and in your country. Now, so we already established that UK white people don't have any original music, correct? Even they can't even
I'm not a
claim
historian
classic. They
on
can't
UK
even
on
claim
what UK
they can't even
white
claim
British music.
classical
So
music.
I'm not.
Now let's get back.
I
Yes,
try and still
you're
think.
interested
I
in it.
try and keep away
Now
from things I don't know about and comment.
let's talk about the music there. What music did South Africans bring over to the UK for them to play?
The music that is pumping in the clubs right now, I believe.
What music did South Africans
Hey, Wani, can you hear
originate?
me?
Yes, I can.
I can hear you, Professor.
Excuse me, y'all. I can't hear anybody. What I'm gonna have to do, I'm gonna add Robbie Blue, because Nikki's not here. I'm gonna add Robbie. I'm gonna add you as a co-host, and I'm gonna go out and come right back in. Stand by.
Hello, can you hear me, Wani? You still there?
Yep.
Oh,
So back to what I was saying.
yeah, Wani.
Um, what did Africans, we'll use the whole of Africa. What music did Africans, when they immigrated over to the UK, what music did they bring
Hey,
over
I'm gonna
to
go
the
out and come right
UK
back
for
in. If it crashes,
everybody?
I'll start it right back up, but I doubt it will. Stand by. Y'all can
Okay.
keep talking.
Okay. What music did Africans bring over to the UK to bring something to their culture over there?
Most of the music now. So okay, so in England we've got uh, grime or what they
Black
call. Hold on, hold
American
on, hold
music,
on, hold on.
sir.
Are you gonna
You
let me
don't have
answer?
anything.
You're gonna let me answer.
Look,
So
you
in
think
the
people are dumb.
hold on, let me answer. I'm gonna speak on something that I know, right? Because I live here. So we've got grime, we've got drum and bass, we've got jungle music, um, we've got garage. So these are all forms of music which were born, influenced largely, yes, by Black American music, but also
Oh, I'm glad
by.
I don't have to tell you about that. Go ahead.
Okay, let's have this conversation. But also influenced by Jamaican,
No, no,
the
no, no, no,
reggae.
no, 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 no. You didn't
Well,
create any music. You simply copied it
listen,
and
are we going
regurgitated
to
it
have this
back in your own
conversation, or are you just going
style.
to keep on interjecting?
I'm going to tell you the truth. You don't have any music. You just
I
keep
didn't know.
making
I didn't know
different
that you lived
forms
in
of hip
England and
hop
you're aware of
and
the.
different forms of
I
this and
didn't know that
different
you're
forms
from
of
England and
that.
you've got a good
Well, I do.
insight
Well,
of
I
UK
am
music.
very aware of music.
Okay,
One thing I'm aware of, and
can you
that's
tell me the
different
forms of
music
UK?
genres.
Can you tell me the forms of UK urban music that exist in England? Since you seem to be a connoisseur of
Grime is a form
UK
of
urban
drill hip
music.
hop.
You have grime, which of course is copying off of hip hop. Dance hall is a copy.
Of what?
There's nothing you can list that's not copied. UK garage is copy. Jungle music, hip hop music, copy. Afro swing, copy. Everything that you have is a copy.
Just like all music,
Okay.
all forms of
Uh,
music are copies, aren't they?
no,
Really, if you think
no, they're
about it.
not. And here we go. Bongo flava.
Just like hip hop is a copy of
No,
funk
yeah, it's
and
a copy of
soul,
our previous genres
right?
that we
All
created. Thank
forms
you
of
very
music
much.
evolve and they're copies.
It's no, no,
But
no,
these are
no.
forms of music
You're
that
not
are
supposed to. You're not
quintessentially
supposed to
and
evolve.
uniquely.
You're not supposed to evolve from another group. Why don't you get your own stuff?
How come
How are you evolving from
how come you're
us?
not playing drum and bass
Why on
in
earth?
America?
Why on earth would a South African
How come we haven't
evolve
got
from a
American
Black
drum and bass
American? How does that
artists?
work?
How come we haven't got
How
American
does that
grime
work?
artists? Because it's
What?
uniquely and quintessentially a UK thing, right? That's why you
Why
haven't
do
got
we have what?
American drum and bass artists or American jungle artists or American grime artists.
What?
The reason why you don't have that there because it's quintessentially and uniquely a UK
Yeah,
thing,
sir.
although it's
Stop.
largely
So you
influenced
have
by Black
brought
American
music.
Grime
music,
is a copy of
Now,
drill
what
right?
music.
kind of what kind of
Grime is a copy of hip hop drill music.
oh sad.
No,
This is
grime
so
was there
sad.
before drill music. What you on about? Now
It
UK
does you
Grime
don't
is
have
a copy of drill music. Drill
no
music
no
came
no.
out in the Midwest, especially Chicago, way before some damn grime.
I
no,
know.
you're confusing it. UK drill
Ain't
is a
no damn
copy of
confusing.
American drill
Drill
music, right?
grime is a copy of hip hop. It's a carbon copy of hip hop. Hip hop grime, the drama, rap, hip hop grime. I know this very well. I am from the Midwest, and I was born and
I'm
raised in
not
the
disputing
Midwest.
that drill music was created in Chicago in America. Nobody's disputing that. Okay. All I'm
And
But
saying
grime
is
is
grime
a
music
copy of
is
that.
hip.
I listen to grime. Grime is a carbon copy of that. I listen to grime. I
Right.
listen
These
to low
people are
key. I
dumb.
know
grime is not a carbon copy of drill. You're mistaken. I think what you're
it
trying
is
to
a
say.
carbon
Well,
copy
hold
of
Okay.
on.
drill music.
Hold
Where does
up.
I think
grime
what
come
you're
Hold
from
trying to
up.
then?
say. Well,
It
hold
doesn't
on.
Could
even matter.
I
I
ask the
think what
gentleman
you're
a
trying to
question?
say, if
Hold
I may
on.
correct you, is that
Oh my God.
UK drill is a copy of American
Let
drill
Robbie
music,
say
right?
something,
Hey,
please.
hold on.
Grime has got a
Let me hold
completely
on. Let me get
different
some. Let
sound.
me get some clear, Resco. I'm thinking about kicking you off my stage forever because I've warned you. You're very smart. You're a big boy. You're a big boy now. You know what I'm saying. Like, don't talk over people. That's not cool. We're not talking over you. You know what I'm saying? Just address the issues. I'm starting to think that you're an op. Prove me wrong. Rob, you had something to say, bro?
Yeah, this is just an observation that I've made, just as an amateur, analysis person. Don't a lot of like artists from the US, Black American artists, tour around the world? You really don't see a lot of like UK artists coming over here or artists from Africa up until recent times coming over here. It's like the foundational Black American has been the most copied man and woman in the world. To say we have not influenced the world and been sampled in all types of music would be like ludicrous. It's gotten to a point now. You know what it is? Um, we've been too nice. We've been too nice because we actually drank the Kool Aid and we thought we arrived, but at least now we've awakened. It's like Martin Luther King really did bring us into a burning house, and we realized that we're surrounded by like vultures
That
just circling.
bro, thank you, Rob. That's exactly what we talking about tonight. Around 9. So y'all check in with us at 9. Bring a friend. We going into that. He said, Brother Robbie, I'm gonna let you land your plane, Robbie. But Brother Robbie said Martin Luther King brought us into a burning house. Yes, Robbie. It was a tactic laid down by the British people with accents just like Mr. Resco too, to control India. They created a concept of "Am I motherfucking six?" You know, like that James Bond shit. Um, created a concept of nonviolence, which is against nature. Nature, as Newton identified, for every action, there's an opposite or equal reaction. So, the British spread a ideology in India of nonviolence, meaning no matter what somebody do, they can kill your daughter, cut her head off, but just pray for them, right? And that's why Dr. King, when he was a grad student at Boston University, that's why people spoon fed him Gandhi ideology. Gandhi was a goddamn filthy racist. Fuck Gandhi. But that
You
ideology
were.
fucked us over, got us running around like kissing the other cheek when that's not
A
nature. Go ahead,
professor.
Robert.
You know what I found interesting when I was doing my research? I know one time you mentioned something about, I think, Meritorious Manimation or something like that, where they
Meritorious
basically
manumission. Yes, sir.
bingo that. But what's rarely telling is, and this is no shot at the brother that's on the stage, but isn't it interesting that one of the first black slave owners was an African that was British? He was coonerized. He was from Britain.
It's all related.
You know what I mean? It's like that mindset, and it's like what the white man noticed was they said we don't even have to give you justice and equality. All we got to do is give you a path to freedom, just to let you like be self-centered. So that's what I see the attitude with the Fat Joes, with the Puerto Ricans. It's like we're always sharing, but then there's people that always center themselves in whatever we got going on because white supremacy is all about dominance, and that's what we have to stop doing is being passive with what is near and dear to us.
That's
And
piggybacking from
I
what you
wanted
just said
to.
there. White supremacy is about dominance, and power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So listen, going
Let
back to
me
what
ask
we're
you
talking
another
about
question.
about
We wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. So you use the whole of the diaspora to tell us about the music going on in the UK, and the whole of a diaspora has copied off of Black American music. Okay, fine. But now let's go into something else. What Bantu food have you brought over to the UK from South Africa?
what Bantu food have we brought over to the UK.
Yeah, you said you're improving everybody's culture by your presence. What food have you brought? You didn't bring any music. Now let's talk about food. What food did you bring?
There's a very small population of South Africans in the UK.
Holy
Hold on.
Mother
You
of
want me to answer your
God.
question? So, South African cuisine is not really that popular in the United Kingdom, to be fair,
I wonder why. Is
because
it
of
popular anywhere? I've never seen a South African restaurant in my life
of
other than in South
try
Africa,
finding
where I
one. You're
ordered
going to
things
one.
other
We've got
than
the
South
internet
Africa.
nowadays. I'm sure if you Google South African restaurants, you'll
Mhm.
come across one. But
And what
anyway,
is
going
the
back to
what's the
your
dish?
question,
What's the food? What's the food?
Oh,
going
okay.
back,
Oh,
going
I
back.
can answer that. You want me? I want to know what South Africa, what the Bantu cuisine is. Y'all want to know? Y'all ready for this? Here you
Yes.
go.
Go on then.
No.
I can even hear what that is. To be fair.
Bushmeat.
Bushmeat.
Bushmeat. Zebra meat.
Oh, you're funny man, aren't you, Professor?
Monkey.
We are very
Monkey.
funny. We need
Chimpanzee
to
meat.
stop.
Anyway, like I was saying,
We need to quit.
so obviously the Bantu
Now
people.
tell us what the
Hold
other
on,
Africans brought.
hold
What
on.
did the other
The the,
West
the, the,
Africans
the, the
bring over
Bantu
to
the Bantu
enrich
people
the
encompass
UK?
the Bantu people encompass the whole of Southern Africa,
Oh
parts
my
of East
God,
Africa.
just
So
stop.
we're talking
Mhm.
Tanzania, we're talking Mozambique, we're talking
Yeah.
Zambia, we're
Okay.
talking
Resco, Resco.
Okay.
Namibia, we're talking Botswana. So all
Okay.
these places have got
Okay.
their own forms of cuisine. So you need to be specific. When you say what
And
Bantu cuisine did you bring to the
no.
UK,
Oh,
we're
what I
talking
want to
about
know,
11 or 12 or 13 different countries
you're
here,
trying to babble
all the
your way
way
out of
from
it.
Uganda
Sir,
in
you
Eastern
don't have
Central
great
Africa
cuisines
to
in
South
that
Africa,
area.
right down the bottom.
You
So you
don't
need to
have
be
great you
specific.
don't have great cuisines. If you had good food, we would know about it. We live in
Oh,
a country
we got
where
loads of great
people
food. You know what? I'm coming over
Yo,
in March.
Resco. Don't you know Nando's is
I'm,
South African?
Nando's,
we
yeah,
live in a
yeah,
coun-
I suppose,
we
yeah.
live we,
We
Nando's
got
is
some,
literally South
we got
African.
some.
Don't you
You
know?
know
Resco,
what? We got some
you
of
know,
the best meat
I'll
in
bring
South
you. I'll
Africa.
bring you
yeah.
back up. You're out of control, Resco.
Hey, Professor,
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna drop back down so that Nikki the guy could
Oh
come
yeah,
up if
thank
she'd like to co-host.
thank you.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Robbie.
What I was
So,
doing that
so
is to just show that they're not enriching anyone's culture. They're not bringing anything. They're just coming to mooch off of whoever they can mooch off. They're not coming in there with all kinds of, they're not the Moors. They're not building elegant castles and fortresses with all kind of, and bringing, some little cultural things and certain kind of education. And, these people were very poised. Some of these cultures were very poised and ordered and disciplined and educated. And they did bring something to different regions, but that's not one of them.
Yeah, Wani, I've listened to grime. It to me, I don't even know why it's called that. It just seems like they renamed rap. I mean, I've
Mhm.
listened. Yeah, I've listened to Dave. I've listened to Storm Z. I mean, and they call it grime. Like, no, that's rap. I mean, you guys just relabeled it. I mean, it's like they just took the bottle, the label off of ketchup. They called it hot sauce, but it's still ketchup.
Yeah, to add on to that is really because I listen to it too. A few artists that do grime, and it's really just drill music. It's a carbon copy of drill music. That's really all it is. Because I'm from the Midwest and I didn't listen to drill music and listen to Midwest artists my whole
Mhm.
life. Twista.
Mhm.
I mean, I ain't got to name the names, but it's really just a carbon copy. As far as drill music, King Louis. I didn't listen to drill music and a lot of it, and
You
it's
don't
just
have
really a
to
carbon copy of drill music.
you don't have to convince us. We've already researched it. We know that they're doing nothing but Africanizing and Caribbeanizing these genres and trying to regurgitate it back to us and tell us that we need to like it. They did the same thing with reggae. Hey, look what we did with it now. And we said, okay, that's cute. Nobody was head over heels on any of their music. It's just there, filling up the atmosphere. Hey, Dan, what's going on?
Hey, what's up? Good evening to everybody.
Yes.
Um, yeah, interesting topic. Do you guys
what it
know
do,
it's
Dan
the
Quay?
100 year? Yeah, what's up? It's it's the 100 year anniversary of the New Negro Manifesto. Like, are you guys first of all like familiar with it? Have you guys spoken about it? Is anybody speaking about it this year? Because I think it's kind of a milestone. It should be interesting to talk about.
Are you
Yeah, I'm
trying to
familiar
tell us what
with
to
it.
talk about?
No, it's just a
Trying
suggestion or a
to,
question.
I'm trying to, okay, so where do you live, Dan?
You know where I live.
I don't.
You do.
You think that I'm more interested than I am.
Okay, you know I live in Europe.
You from
Huh?
Ghana?
Yeah,
You're not in the States, correct?
you're.
So I
hmm
can't ask you what cultural things did you bring to another country.
I mean, I could tell you, but I
Okay,
mean,
tell us
you
what
would need to
cultural
ask me.
things that did um, your group
hmm
bring to other countries that you immigrated to.
Okay, we brought foods. We brought ways of
Food. Yeah,
governing.
that's
So a lot of maroon
you
societies.
brought governance? Hold on.
Yeah, systems
Did
of
an African
governance.
just say they brought governance? Is something in my ears? Something's in my
I
ears.
said systems of
It
governance.
might be
The
my finger.
maroons.
It could be my finger. What happened?
Yeah, as I was saying,
You took
systems of
governance to someone?
governance.
Okay.
Systems
I
of
need to take I need
governance.
to take a nap right now.
Systems of governance in Jamaica with the Jamaican Maroons, Antigua, um, Suriname, mostly Maroon societies, basically. Um, yeah, and then foods, kente,
Food like what?
Pan Africanism, Black
Hold
nationalism.
on, hold on, hold on, hold on. You didn't bring Pan Africanism. And you didn't, you
No,
brought kente
I
cloth?
would say my
Nobody
group
asked for that.
contributed to
Why would
that.
you bring kente cloth? That's a regional
We didn't
fabric.
bring kente cloth, we
Why no
created
one
it.
asked for it? Why are you bringing it to people? It's
We
like a
didn't
dog
bring it
bringing
to
you a
anybody.
dead
We
bird.
created
Nobody
it.
asked you
We
for it.
created it.
Like a cat bring you a dead bird.
I mean, we created it, and then some other groups liked it, and some
Ah,
other
no, they
groups
didn't. You're
consider it to be the
delusional.
most a pro-black symbol,
I
right?
think you're delusional.
I
People won't
mean,
like stuff that you
hey,
think they like. Remember, they said everybody's going to be playing Afro beats and all this.
I mean, I never said that.
hmm
I mean, you asked me a question, I answered. So yeah,
you're not very influential in the cultures that you
yeah. I
migrate
mean, you
to.
know what kente is, so
The
I guess.
Moors,
I want to hear about
however,
this food. I want to hear about this cuisine. And don't say jollof rice. Don't say
I
it because
mean,
that belongs to the French.
my group didn't create jollof rice, so I wouldn't mention it. But all
so
right,
Hey,
it's
you're
not.
tomatoes are indigenous to America. Tomatoes are indigenous to America.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
and the
That's true.
peanuts are also that you use in every dish, and no one knows why. But okay, yeah. Hey, peanuts
Yeah,
go good in this. Why?
I mean, we like peanut butter. What
Uh
can I say?
huh. That's not what I'm talking about. You put it in stews.
Yeah,
You know
and
where
it's
peanut
good.
butter came
Trust
from,
me.
right? You know who that came from, right? Go ahead. Go ahead. Say his
No,
name.
don't. John Washington Carver.
There you
But
go. There you go.
And they tried to strip George
look.
Washington Carver of his invention by saying, "We found mashed up peanuts in the Aztecs."
Do you really think that we weren't eating peanut butter soup before him?
Yes, you didn't have peanuts, so I don't think you were.
Okay, sure.
The white boy
Peanuts are
brought all those
indigenous to
things
the
over here.
Americas. The peanut plant is indigenous to the Americas, not Africa.
All right.
Yeah, I know that. But people traded,
Okay, so how
so
was y'all eating
Uh,
peanut? How was y'all eating peanut soup before then?
he said people traded.
I'm
Random
saying I'm
people just
saying
floated
I'm
from
saying that the
across the
plant
ocean.
has been in West Africa probably
Okay.
500 years. So,
Okay.
That's a damn lie, because it's
Okay.
indigenous to America, the Americas.
yes. And when did people go to America? When did Europeans go to
Oh
America?
my God.
600 years ago,
Oh
almost.
my God. This is
So
not
do the
good.
math. How does that make sense? What you just said. Please
What?
do the math on that. If Europeans
Europeans
can get to the
went.
Americas to the
Listen, brother,
1600s, and you
brother.
said the peanut was in
Take your
the
time.
in the
Take your
Africa for
time.
500 years, bro. You
Take your
said
time.
you said the peanut was in Africa for 500 years, and the
Hmm.
Europeans didn't get to America into 600 years. So do the math on that. How does that make
And
sense?
I'm
Make that make
saying,
sense.
hold on. Take your time and listen.
You're going too fast.
Europeans went to the Americas in the late 1400s, right? And I'm saying they were trading with Africans. So the peanut plant got into Africa in the 1500s. That's all.
hmm
It's
Whatever.
time to bust out that heavy artillery. It's J.A. Rod.
But you said 500 years,
It's
bro. But
J.
you just say here and said the peanut been in Africa for 500 years,
It's
bro.
J.A. Rogers time.
Come on, man.
According to J.A. Rogers, on the presence of the Negro in America before Columbus, the Negro type is seen in most ancient Mexican sculptures. Figure Negroes figure frequently in the most remote traditions of some American pueblos. It is to this race doubtlessly belongs to the most ancient skeletons of the very distant structure of the two red American races, which have been found in various places from Bolivia to Mexico. We were here, man. We was here way before that. But anyway, back to peanuts and cuisines. I want to hear about I want to hear about this cuisine.
They don't have any.
Coming over to America in March to see my two siblings.
That's nice. Of
Well,
course,
man,
they're
stop
I'm gonna
flogging.
come
You
overseas.
coming
over and
over to America to stay.
bring you some food, man. I'm gonna bring you some food.
All right.
No, you
Um,
are not going to bring us food. We
Personally,
have
come and
plenty.
get
We
that.
don't
We
want
have
no
plenty
bougie.
of cuisines, and we don't need
Come for some
yours.
of that.
I
Good
guarantee
Yeah, we
you
don't
African
want
this.
bush meat. We
man.
go to our fried chicken and
It's
Some of
collard
that
no,
greens.
tasty, good,
it's
sweet
no
African food.
insult because we don't have Russian restaurants on every corner, and we certainly don't want beans and toast. We
Have
certainly
you?
don't want Scandinavian food. So there's a lot of people. We don't want any Eastern European food. We may have remnants of their food, but yeah, they can keep that. There's not going to
I'm
be.
gonna bring you. Have you ever tasted some okra? We'll have to bring you some okra,
Is that
some
all you
okra and
people
some
talk
yam.
about?
And all their food is
No,
slimy.
Okra? No,
What?
What
man.
is
you
it?
asked
It's
All
for
their food
you
is
The
asked
slimy.
for
fucking
the
slimy.
man just
best of
said it's
African
okra,
food.
man. It's
He doesn't
okra.
know
I'm
how
gonna,
to say it
I'm
or
gonna,
cook it.
I'm gonna bring you. Well, people have got different
I
accents and
don't want you to
Man,
pronunciations.
look,
bring
look,
me
look. I'm
things.
I'm a country boy. I'm gonna tell you about okra. What I want you to tell me about is
South Africans make some of the best barbecue
Oh,
in the
You
please.
world.
put you put slime on your you put
You
slime on your
probably
They
put
do this
barbecue.
thing called
slime
dry.
barbecue sauce. To find a way
Some
to
of the,
put
and in
slime
fact,
on the
actually,
barbecue sauce.
if you go to your corner shop
Oh,
now,
it
you probably
clings
find
on
something
there
called
pretty good.
you
Sir,
find something
nobody's
called
going to find anything from you. That's
you find
number
something
one.
called biltong. Have
Oh,
you heard of biltong?
what?
Have you heard of biltong?
Can you spell it?
I think it's
Is it cow tongue?
He
Biltong.
don't even know how to spell it.
Is it cow
Biltong.
tongue?
Okay. If you go to
Cow.
most shops, it's like dried meat basically.
Oh,
What
And
it's
it's
about it?
very
jerky.
this
spicy.
man talking
Are
about
Jerky.
you?
dried meat.
And it's
Is
and
he
it's
It's
very
trying
it's
it's
to?
beef
very very
jerky.
very
Is he
popular.
flexing dried meat
Nicely
on us?
flavored.
Warning,
I tell you
he
what,
is flexing dried meat.
when I'm when I'm
Well,
when I'm
hold
when
up,
I'm
hold up, hold
when
up.
I'm there
Now,
in
Hey, in
now,
Alabama,
now,
we call that roadkill.
I'm in
now.
Virginia
He's
this
talking
week.
about
Yeah,
rhinoceros jerky.
Oh
yeah. Let me
Lord.
Rhinoceros
know where
jerky.
you are. I'll bring a box for you so you can sample some of that nice cooking, some of that
That's
good
why they
flavored
put all
food.
that slimy stuff on it because they know it's all dried out. Those are the monkeys that they're eating. He's trying to offer
Oh
you some
God.
monkey food.
No,
Oh,
we don't do that.
Mr.
You,
Resco, could you
you
please
must
show
eat
us a
monkey food.
cookbook
You know
from
we don't
a
do that.
South African Bantu cookbook that shows you barbecuing that's old? We'll never know the first person to barbecue because of the nature of barbecue, but we do have awards in award-winning barbecue techniques and sauces. Do you, Mr. Bantu Man?
Yeah, I think South Africa was when they
No,
did
it
a
weren't. Be
program that
quiet.
I was
Stop
watching.
lying.
I think they won the best barbecue
Let me look this
of
up.
nation. They're just very
Best
good when it comes to like
best barbecue in
barbecue.
the
Very
nation?
famous for
Which
it
nation?
in the world.
Okay,
Look, it was
let
a
me
black
look it up.
American man from Chicago that invented the barbecue grill. Stop it.
I didn't dispute
We
that.
have
It was a
massive
Nobody
foundation of
said
black
that.
American
populations.
man that invented a
No, no,
barbecue grill
nobody
from
disputed
Chicago.
that. I'm
Stop
just
No,
it.
telling you
sir,
that South
your
African
connection
barbecuing food is good. That's what
your
I'm saying.
connection is messed
Yeah,
up again.
barbecue is taino. I don't know what you guys are talking
It's
about.
not Taino.
What are
Stop
you
it.
saying?
Barbecue is older than dirt. We'll never know the first caveman that threw something on the
Okay, what
damn
what okay,
grill.
where does the word come from?
We're never going. It doesn't matter.
Okay,
Now,
that's what I'm
Putting
what
meat
talking
about
on a
about.
barbecue
So,
grill.
sauce? What
We're
about
never
That's a
gonna
barbecue
random
know.
sauce?
word.
The first person to put meat on a grill, we're never gonna know that. Or put meat on to barbecue it to get a charcoal flavor. Let's be realistic. Certain things we're not gonna know who invented it.
That's like that.
right.
We
That's
do
like
know
that
it was a
riddle.
black American man that invented the barbecue grill, though. We do know that.
It's
Yep, we do know that. And we know we have awards in barbecue sauce and techniques. And we're in the Barbecue Hall of Fame. So I don't even need to have this argument.
I got a question for the panel. I'll give y'all three guesses. Where was the first hole dug on Earth?
Holy crap.
In the backyard of one of these people's houses because they don't have plumbing to take a poop.
Jesus Christ.
In the
You're watching
ground. In the
you're watching too
ground.
much Alex
That's one of
Jones,
them
man.